remember Adam said that we need a jingle. Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the Praise the Pickle podcast.
Hello, yay!
Hi,
woo.
Hi, woo, yay!
Much better. So, yeah, this is the Praise the Pickle podcast, where we talk about video games, everything that we love, hate, and find incredibly mediocre about said video games. I am your host, Mr. Benjamin Watts, and I am joined by Mr. Daniel Watts.
Hi there.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm very jittery. I've had a lot of coffee. I'm very tired, but I'm ready.
All right, good.
So he's a bit up and a bit down.
A bit all over the shop, but we'll see.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And I'm also joined by Mr. Kevin Hart.
Hello there.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm alright. Been fighting a cold, but we move on.
We do. We live. We endure.
How are you anyway?
I'm good.
Oh, sorry.
I'd bet on the cold. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, don't get near me.
About the cold. Jesus. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, man. All right, let's. Before we start, please leave us some feedback on social media or by email. Which email is praisepicklepodcast@gmail.com. Twitter is @praisepickle, and Facebook and Insta. No. I'm going to leave this to you, Kev. Sorry, I've completely bottled it. Kev, what is it? Go.
He's already said the email. I got that one right. Hey. Instagram is Praise the Pickle Podcast, and then Twitter and Facebook is Praise the Pickle.
Thank you very much. I'm never going to try that again. And. Yeah, please rate, review, and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. Let's jump straight into the news with Mr. Daniel Watts. Let's rock this joint, man. Do it.
All right, so you guys all remember one of the best games of 2019. Received incredibly well. Picked up
FIFA 19.
awards left, right, and centre. No, even better than FIFA 19.
Anthem.
Yeah. So sounds like Ben's already heard this one.
No, I just know that would be the joke because Anthem was terrible.
Yeah, and also I'm incredibly predictable and
that, yeah, and we're basically twins. So
true that. So they've kind of continued to support Anthem. They've released 2 or 3 major patches and updates. They've released some content stuff, but they've come out and said that they're gonna basically reinvent it completely. So they haven't given up with it, and they're basically saying that they're going to release Anthem 2.0. Or in the same sort of vein as No Man's Sky, people are calling it Anthem Next because the big reinvention No Man's Sky was called No Man's Sky Next. So
that's mad, isn't it?
It is pretty mad, yeah.
I would expect that from
surprised.
a small company or a company that people have a bit more respect for. But like the fact that EA are holding out on this project for this long already is pretty mad.
Yeah. Maybe they just see a lot of potential in it. I mean,
no, nonsense. They're just looking at the numbers.
Core of the game good.
No, you can fly. Apparently, the flying's fun, but that's literally it.
No, it's not. I think that the gameplay is fine. It's more the sort of the loot system and the leveling systems and all the RPG elements of it are shite, basically. So it makes a looter shooter just a shooter. so it's kind of
Well, I mean, in that case, I guess if they're reinventing it, they can only see good ideas behind it all. Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of putting all that effort in? What's the point of releasing all these updates?
I know it's mad. I find it mad, but like I don't. If any other company said this, I'll be like, yes, good on you. But I just can't see. I just can't see EA sitting in a room going, wait, how many players you got left? 5. Okay. Yeah, you can have another, year's worth of funding. Yeah, sure. Why not? I just can't see it. They've already sold all the copies, so like, why? It's just, I don't know. It's weird.
Dan?
So they've obviously got a community of people that play it. They're still playing the updates and keeping on top of things. I'll read their statement out, though. It kind of highlights exactly what you just said, Ben, in terms of what's missing. They've said that over the coming months, we will be focusing on longer-term redesign of the experience, specifically working to reinvent the core gameplay loop with clear goals, motivating challenges, and progression with meaningful rewards, while preserving the fun of flying and fighting in a vast science fantasy setting. Why did they say science fantasy?
Yeah, what is
that term before?
Is it just like science fantasy?
Isn't that like the most different word? What's it called? When two different words just come together.
Yeah, maybe that was a mistake.
Contrasting. That's the one.
It's like
science. In Waterstones, there's science fiction and fantasy are in the same section, so it's kind of the same thing, I guess.
They also add, and to do that properly, we'll be doing something we'd like to have done more of the first time round, giving a focused team the time to test and iterate, focusing on gameplay first. Wow, they're actually going to test it. Oh my god.
I feel it.
Revolutionary idea. Why didn't they think of this before?
New ideas.
Yeah, big ideas. Obviously, it's BioWare that developed the game, and historically, people have had a good opinion of BioWare. They like what they've made before, so people were a bit surprised at how bad Anthem really was. We don't really know why or what happened. There was a couple of articles that came out at the time stating that there was some serious funding and management issues, but I don't know, maybe they have got a foundation for something that could be a lot of fun here.
I mean, it looks great. It looks really nice assets wise. It's got a lot of good assets in there to as a good starting point. I think all they need is just people that have good experience with looter shooter style games to come in and create a solid progression, a solid addictive progression system within it. Because like when the game first came out, for example, the starting weapons were stronger than the end game weapons. So like, it made no sense. Like it had no logic surrounding it regarding any of the core sort of leveling up mechanics. It's just a bit.
I've heard the bosses are a bit of a slug as well.
Yeah, they're just bullet sponges. So it's kind of like Division or Borderlands or Bungie One Division. What's it called? God, I'm baked today. What's going on? Destiny. That's one.
Yeah, I've heard that as well that there's like a problem with the experience or the gold that you get from like the final bosses, that it's actually worth not even killing the final boss.
Oh yeah,
it's so
full of
poorly
things
done,
like that.
Poorly made. That
it's got so many things like that.
I mean, none of us have played it.
That's true. That is very true.
No, but I mean,
so we are beating on something that we're almost just taking other people's word for.
We might all play it and absolutely adore it.
Yeah.
I don't even like endgame content anyway, so I might actually love it.
Exactly. The fact that there is still a community of people that play it and have got hope for it, and it's quite nice that there seems to be this trend now of game developers going back to games that are failing and actually trying to revitalise them, bring life back to them, rather than just trashing it and then starting over. Because, it probably sold enough to make its money back, even if it didn't keep...
It sold
didn't do very
a
well
lot.
With the live service model.
No,
exactly.
It sold tons. Like it was a really good... It was one of the best-selling games of the first quarter of that year. And, like, it's... But I think that was part of the issue. It was a hype train issue, really, wasn't it? It was just everyone was like, "Oh my god, Anthem!"
I think it's one of the ones that until you get deep into the game, you don't really know quite how bad some games are. Like at the beginning, the idea behind it might be like, "Oh, this is well cool," but when you get into it and you have like the deep down middle and end part, you think to yourself, "Yeah, no, this is a bit naff, isn't
it?" Like that was a weird laugh, Jesus. Yeah, I think that was the main issue, but. I reckon if I played a couple of hours of it, it looks great and flying around is fun, so I'd probably quite enjoy it, I imagine. But it's for the people, the dedicated people, the ones that are finding it frustrating, I guess. So, but I agree that the fact that they're looking at the old games that have flopped, and instead of just binning them straight away, they're actually trying, because it's a nice change of pace, especially from EA. So
it feels like No Man's or Hello Games with No Man's Sky was like they set a new bar for that in terms of keep in touch with your community, let them give you the feedback and give them what they want, and it will do well. And they've done amazingly out of No Man's Sky.
Thingy could have been a catalyst as well. Final Fantasy 14.
That's true, actually. That's another big one, because they completely wiped the world with a meteor and then rebuilt it, and it's now one of the fan favourites in the entire series, which is quite impressive. Yeah.
It's mad.
They did that with what was it, like the best game they released last year? Was it
Wildlands?
Wildlands? Or no, not Wildlands.
Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Well, no, Ghost Recon, the one they released, the most recent one.
Oh yeah, Wildlands. Yeah. Oh, Breakpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the best games of the year. So, and I
can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not.
Of course, it was terrible.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but we're talking about games that got revitalised. What happened with Breakpoint?
Yeah, I know. But because they're obviously going to go back and they're going to redo it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They might not though.
They might not. No,
I don't think they.
Sorry, go on.
I doubt they will.
No, I reckon they'll call it with that. To be honest,
they apparently, I read briefly in passing that they've added an event or some DLC or something, which is like Terminator themed.
Yes, yeah.
And apparently it's actually quite good fun, so
which is fine. But again, but if it comes down to the core gameplay and the core mechanics, then it's a lot of work to redo it, isn't it? It's not just like, you know, it would be like trying to make a Call of Duty a third-person game suddenly. Like it wouldn't.
Oh my god!
Yeah, could you imagine? Like changing that core stuff would be mad.
You used to be able to do that in some of the old Modern Warfare games and stuff. You could make a custom game and go third person with it.
Oh yeah, you could, couldn't you?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on. Next news story.
Another sort of Anthem related one that came out and went viral a little while ago is somebody who hadn't played since launch decided to go back on the other day, like 3 days ago or something. And I can't remember what the exact statement they made was, but they took a screenshot and it went completely viral. And they said the saddest thing about going back to Anthem is the fact that they still have all of their Christmas decorations up. They hadn't turned off the Christmas event, so in the main town they had like a Christmas tree. And
man, that is so depressing.
I know. Well, they have actually said now officially that they're going to basically stop releasing content updates for the current version of the game and focus completely on the rebuild, which I think is a pretty good idea. Yeah.
Although the other side of the coin is that EA are trying to keep them happy, and they've gone, just redo it, it's fine, whatever, and then the second they run out of funding, it will go under, but it stops them from having to release new content for the new one. If that makes sense. So, like, the fact that they're going to redo it is an excuse so that they don't have to release constant content that no one's going to play.
They might do, but then people can still stop playing the game and just wait till the update comes out, can't they?
But then the second they stop releasing content, all these like die-hard fans or the people that are still playing it are just going to get really pissed off. So it could just be an excuse just to keep them happy.
But what does them playing do? I mean, if they're not releasing content and they're not spending money on it, then what's the point of keeping it open?
I mean, the dedicated fan base probably are still spending money on it, and they probably will be more confident in doing that now, knowing that there's going to be a continued lifespan in this.
Is it not just cosmetic?
Yeah, probably. I don't know how the microtransactions work in that game, actually.
Yeah, that's true,
but you're probably right. But another interesting thing about this segue is that Square Enix have just announced a very similar looking game called Outriders. So the gameplay, I think it was yesterday, they showed a live stream on a platform, I can't remember which one, where they showed some gameplay and some cinematics and talked about the lore and some of the mechanics. And I know generally I don't talk about game announcements in the news section per se, But this one's kind of interesting because of how similar it is to a lot of other games and how it might change the competition in that scene. But have you guys seen it yet, Outriders?
No, I saw that a game called Outriders had been announced, but I didn't see anything of it. So
it's basically a third-person looter shooter again, another one with.
Never had them before, have we?
No, exactly.
No. It's unique.
But one of the most amazing things about this game is that it's a 3-player co-op experience, a co-op RPG, which is based around the mixture of shooting and sort of magic special powers. There's 3 different classes with skill trees and all that kind of stuff. And when you get a chance, go and have a look at some of the screenshots of the user interface. And it feels like they've literally taken the source files out of Destiny 2 and copied the user interface across. It's exactly the same, to the point where it's kind of worrying that they might get sued. It's awful.
Oh man!
But it's interesting that it's one of the first PS5, Xbox Series X announcements. It'll be current gen as well. They showed some gameplay.
My question is, like, if you're going to steal someone's user interface, why would you steal Destiny's? It's really not that
People
good.
like Destiny's.
Why? It's so finicky. Like, the little cursor thing on the console is awful.
Yeah, I think I'm more talking about the browsing of the inventory and.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because you have to use a bloody little cursor to get through it.
Yeah, you're true.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, not a fan.
I don't know if they copied that.
It does look pretty good though.
Outriders.
It looks quite.
At times, it looked okay.
The monsters look cool.
The monsters look pretty cool. Some of the shooting looks okay, but I'm going to hold off my opinions for now. But it's kind of interesting to see, because it's Square Enix as well doing a looter shooter, which is, from what I know, a bit different. So
it is, yeah.
On the next generation announcements note, Sony have announced that I don't know if they've announced this, but according to Bloomberg anyway, apparently they're struggling to price the PlayStation 5 reasonably.
Oh.
And we've talked about this in a previous episode where we covered that some of the older consoles were sold for a loss, some of the previous generations.
Yeah.
And the money was made back on software, basically, and services. And at the moment, they've said that lots of the components, especially the cooling system, is unusually expensive. And at the moment, they're not really sure how they're going to sell it for a reasonable amount. Mass production of the new console is looking like about $350, which is that's £350. Sorry, £345.
English sterling.
Yep, in English sterling, or for our brothers and sisters across the ocean, $450 is what they're saying. So, bearing in mind that's the manufacturing cost, and on top of that, you've got things like logistics and
of course,
they'd have to sell it for a bit more than that at wholesale. We're looking at a minimum of about £400 for the console, which is quite a steep price for a lot of people.
The thing is, it's annoying because if you think about it on the grand scheme of things, you're buying yourself a mad, crazy good computer.
Yeah, that's
for like 400 and something pounds. But then you have to think that if you're comparing it to previous consoles, then yeah, it is expensive.
I think the problem is,
I think it's insane. Like the fact that they're sitting there going, "Oh, we're worried about the cost of this," but the specs that are in these things for that price. That is mad.
That's not really the point, though. Like you could be selling a supercomputer that does 4K VR and runs at 500 frames per second, but if people don't have £400, then they're not going to be able to join the next generation at all.
I personally think that they're worrying about nothing. Like they'll be that they should start off at. In my head, the cost of these consoles was going to be about £500 to £600 anyway. From what sort of specs they're saying, if you have any sort of sense about you, you should understand that for those specs, getting them for £500 to £600 is very, very good in comparison to buying an equivalent PC, for example. And then the same thing's going to happen. The hardware costs will go down over time, and then they'll get cheaper and cheaper, like it does all the time. Like
you got to remember though that it's a different market. People that buy home games consoles, don't necessarily have £500 to throw away, plus another £50 per game if they want to buy 2 games, just to step up and upgrade. They're looking at £600, especially when a lot of the games that come out are going to be compatible with their current system as well. I think the people that buy it will feel like it was money well spent, but it's more the fact that how could you convince people that it's worth upgrading, especially when it costs half a month's payslip.
I don't think they need to. They don't need to convince people. They already have the audience. Like, it's not... If you think about it, okay, PS4 Pro, for example, right, which really was not that much of a leap from the PS4, yeah? It was that
pretty big.
It wasn't.
not as big as this in terms of like teraflops.
Okay, well, yeah. But that was $400 at launch, £350 in the UK. So if you just look at compare it to that, and it's like the difference. If you have any sense value, surely you must expect it to cost more than that, because of course it's going to. If you want a next gen console, you have to pay the next gen price tag. You can't just be like, oh well, the PS4 is £200. Why can't it be that cheap? It's like, well, it can be that cheap, but it ain't going to be a PS5, is it? So
I know what you're saying, but there's 2 sides to this. One of them is that these guys are just basing it. No, these guys are basing their evidence and their concerns on the numbers. That they can literally look at how much money people spend on games consoles and say, look, the price does make a difference. You know, they've done market research and they've asked people, you know, how would you feel if the console came out?
I definitely know more than a massive company. Don't worry.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Ben's the authority.
I personally would buy one, so that's all that matters. All right.
It's the point of this article and the point of the concern really is that it might affect sales quite drastically if they price it really high from the get-go.
Yeah.
On the flip side, it has been 4 or 5 years or whatever it is since the console came out. And in the last 4 or 5 years, on an unrelated note, if you look at other trends in technology, particularly in the smartphone industry, people are spending a lot more on technology now than they were a few years ago. People are spending £1,000 plus on smartphones. Now, obviously, smartphones are different because it's your personal computing device that you carry everywhere and do everything with, whereas a games console is a luxury. But
are they doing monthly as well? Or are they doing like a monthly?
Oh yeah, there'll be subscriptions.
Yeah, I don't think PlayStation themselves are, but everyone and their uncle will be doing some sort of monthly thing.
Yeah, so in that case, it kind of makes... I mean, for example, I wouldn't outright pay for an iPhone for the 700, 800 or 1,000, whatever it is now. But going monthly, I'm more than happy to pay for that kind of thing. It's the same with the... maybe not me personally, I'm not been that for consoles and stuff, but if they did have a monthly type of subscription, people would be well on top of that. £50 a month for a whole year.
Well, it's just a credit card,
yourself a £600... Oh, yeah, exactly.
People will buy this on credit. A lot of people will.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's interesting. I think I'm kind of with you, personally speaking, Ben. I don't think pricing it highly is going to affect sales that much. And when they were first talking about specs and when they were first kind of testing different processors and working out what they wanted to use, there was that argument about, do we make it really affordable to undercut the other company, the competitors, and sell way more of them? Or do we make it really, really powerful and sell it for twice the amount? And I was always in the vein of just make it as powerful as you can for under, say, £500, and then just sell it. And it might take a bit longer to sell and people might have to save up a bit more money, but I think people will thank you more for it in the long run.
100%. Yeah.
Way more powerful console.
Yeah, no,
so
100%.
I'm with you.
You need to make that leap, and that leap comes with a price tag. Like, you can't just be like you said, you can't just be like, well, we're worried about making it too expensive, so we're just going to cut loads of corners, you know, put a shitty heatsink in it, and just all these little things that you could do to lower costs. Why? What's the point? It's like, I don't... Like, okay, again, another example. The PS3 and the Xbox One, so the PS3, this is 2 generations ago, cost £425 at launch.
And it really struggled.
Okay, but then it did really well.
In the long run, it did okay, but that generation, Xbox won primarily because of the price tag.
Then
And I
you
think
know
that's
what?
a lot of
I'm looking at the numbers here, and I can see what you're saying.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at it because looking at every generation, whichever console was cheaper won. So PS4 was 350 at launch, and Xbox One was 430, and PS4 smashed them. PS3 was 425 at launch, and the Xbox 360 was 280, and the Xbox 360 smashed them. So you could well
it's kind
be
of the obvious choice, isn't
raise a few points.
Yeah, go.
They are very contradictory of each other, but I think in terms of the amount of, like, it might be too much if we're comparing to previous gen consoles, but you have to obviously think since then. I mean, it's been 6 years since the console came out.
It depends whether you count the half-step ones.
When did the PS3
no,
and PS
I'd
and
say the
Xbox
main
360
ones.
come out?
So the PS... No, you mean PS4 and Xbox One, right?
Yeah.
That was the last
Well, you know what? Even
doesn't matter.
even
They
just
came out
comparing-
like 7-8 years ago, basically.
Yeah, you have to think the amount of it's a bit off gaming topic, but inflation in terms of that, the amount that things in general, everything including technology has gone up since then. Everything has just like it is going to raise, it is going to increase every single year. I can't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's another side to it as well. But not even just inflation wise, like, because inflation's per country. You have to think as well.
That is
so
true.
it does
yeah,
depend
obviously.
on the country, but like just hardware costs more. It's as simple as that. Like, if you want a more expensive console, the hardware costs more for that. You can't buy a £400 PC and expect it to run frickin' Witcher 3 at 4K, can you? So.
But then, on the contrary,
oh God, he's got all the opinions today.
If I was to look at this as someone who didn't beforehand, when I didn't have a gaming computer, and I wasn't into technology and whatnot, and I'm not even that much into it now, but when I bought the Xbox One, I solely bought it for the fact that all my friends were going to be on it. All the new games were going to be on it. It had nothing to do with the fact it was going to be a better console, it was going to run things better. And I can imagine a lot of people falling into that bracket of just being like, I'm just going to buy it. I don't, like, most people probably don't even think about the improvements it's going to have. They just think it's the next thing.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
the
That is true.
The next jump.
You're right. You're dead right. And as long as they're pretty close, the new consoles from both companies are pretty close. I think you're right. I don't think people are going to look at which one has slightly better resolution or slightly better frame rate. They're going to look at which one has the best games and the best services and the highest level of compatibility.
Or like
even
Kevin
that's
said,
changing.
like which one your friends are on.
But even, I was going to say,
that,
even that's changing with crossplay now. I think crossplay is going to be pretty much universal across most mainstream games, like in the next year or two, to be honest. So I don't even think that's going to be the deciding factor in this generation. I think it's going to be what exclusives does it have, and the competition between the service that they provide, such as
Game Pass.
Yeah, Game Pass and xCloud and all that.
Yeah,
it's an interesting.
I wonder whether PlayStation are being clever about this, because they have no pressure as to when to announce the console at all. They can announce it whenever they want. Yeah, so I reckon the whole idea of them struggling to price it is. I think it might just be a tactic because they're waiting for Xbox to announce their price, and once they announce their price, then they can start thinking about. Because if Xbox come out and say it's going to be £600, then Sony can just be like, right, well, we'll do $550 then, whatever. I reckon this generation, PS5 will get announced afterwards, and I reckon it'll be cheaper. Because
imagine both of them are waiting for each other.
Gets to holiday 2021, and we're all just like, guys, come on, one of you's got to make the first move. Come on. Yeah, but I mean, Xbox is still under the pressure of E3, isn't they? So everyone is expecting them to announce things at E3. Like, I think people will be pretty pissed off if they don't announce the price tag at E3 this year.
I haven't got though.
I know they don't got to, but they pretty much always do. Every single Xbox announcement has been at E3, and every single one has had the price tag for that holiday season coming. So everyone is expecting that. So everyone's going to say, "Oh, your thing was shit because you didn't even tell us more about the Xbox." So I feel like there is a slight bit of pressure there on them to do it.
They're like playing chicken with each other.
They pretty much are, I reckon, at this point. Like, it's mad, and I think that's going to be what happens. I don't think PlayStation will even price tag their thing yet until they find out what Xboxes are. They've probably got bloody detectives sent out to Xbox to try and find out what the bloody price tag are.
Yeah, they will do. And I think, as far as I remember, I think Sony were late every time. I think it was always Microsoft that came first.
Yeah, but they made the one mistake with the PS3, didn't they? They made that massive mistake of pricing it too high because they were. I think that they sort of gambled on the fact that it was a Blu-ray player as well. They sort of went, well, it's a home entertainment system. It's not just a console. You can watch Blu-rays on it. But the point is that you're marketing this to gamers, primarily. So
Microsoft did the same thing when they started talking about the Xbox One.
Yeah, and they fucked
being
it,
a multi-entertainment home entertainment system, not just the games console. Or the gamers were like, we don't give a shit. We just want a games console.
Yeah.
Like,
I need to tell you guys something. Guess what I saw? Guess what I experienced today?
A frog jumping over.
It is gaming related. Okay. It wasn't that, Kevin, but good, nice try. I went to, so me and Charlotte went to buy a new mattress from Dreams.
Ooh, nice.
And they were like, we said we have no idea what sort of mattress we need, because there's like medium firm, very firm, memory foam, multiple ones, and just loads of different things. And they were like, he sort of went around at the start and went, all of these ones have all these different features and whatnot. And I'm just like, I just want a comfortable night's sleep, man. I don't know what you're talking about. And then he was like, oh, well, we have this machine here that tells you what your like prime, like your the best sort of mattress for you would be. And we're like, okay. And then so we laid down on this thing, and then Charlotte went, why is there an Xbox above us? We looked up, and it was a Kinect. It was a Kinect,
really? No way.
They had a Kinect, right, like floating above us, which was monitoring our movement and stuff. And it was monitoring our bodies, and it was the best thing ever. Because like you could see like a hologram of ourselves, because like the Kinect tracks your like loads of points in your body. And obviously, it made me realise how bad the input lag was, because I did like a fist bump with Charlotte so we could see the holograms doing it. And then of course, it took about a second for the screen to do it. But it was just so funny when Charlotte looked up in the sky and went, why is there an Xbox on the ceiling? I was like, what are you talking about?
Can't believe they finally found a use for it. Amazing.
Sorry, it's so off topic, but I just had to say it.
That's brilliant. That's a good story. I like that.
Anyway, yeah, so I think they're playing chicken with each other, so we'll see. But Xbox, I reckon, will be the first to announce it this year.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, PlayStation are just under no pressure to do anything at all.
No, not really. I mean, they kind of are, because they need to start building hype, but they've done that with like leaving E3 and getting people talking about them and all these like little leaks and stuff. So they're doing that already. But I think they'll announce before E3, but I don't know if they will announce price. I would be very surprised if they announce price first.
Agreed. Yeah, they'll announce like do a little specs, console, kind of like what Xbox have done, sort of saying like the little trailer saying, "Oh, look, this is the new PlayStation." It 100% will happen at the next.
Everything does that though, doesn't it? Even like telesales, you go onto it and it's like this mop's got this, it's extendable, it can pick up all the dirt in the world, all for a price of £499.99. It's like
what a mop.
You have to sell it before you sell it, almost, don't you?
Yeah. It's just more of a. It's just interesting because they're not at E3 anymore. The timelines are sort of skew-if now.
Yeah,
it's quite interesting, but yeah.
Anyway,
sorry.
And also, maybe they're going to be really quirky with the shape, like Xbox have done. So instead of building it like a fridge shape, it's going to be like a perfect sphere that just rolls around on the table.
Yeah, they'll do like an Apple thing where they'll sell like the screen without a stand. So they'll sell it to you as a perfect sphere that rolls around, but you have to buy like a little cup, like an egg cup for it. Oh, that's good. Anyway, go on. Next story.
Speaking of E3, we've had some pretty major news about E3. Everyone should know who Jeff Keighley is. the person that basically created E3.
Yes,
And he's the face of the Video Game Awards. He's the face of E3. He's the host of all of the shows, like the showmaster, basically. He has now said that he will not be attending E3 at all this year. For the first time in 25 years.
That's mad.
He won't be participating at all. And the reason that he gave is really interesting. He put a statement out saying, for the past 25 years, I've attended every electronic entertainment expo, E3. Covering, hosting, and sharing E3 has always been a highlight of my year, not to mention a defining part of my career. I've debated what to say about E3 2020. While I want to support the developers who will showcase their work, I also need to be open and honest with you, the fans, about precisely what to expect from me. I have made the difficult decision to decline to produce E3 Coliseum. For the first time in 25 years, I will not be participating in E3. I look forward to supporting the industry in other ways and other events in the future. Now, that was a statement that he gave, and somebody, I can't remember how this came out, I think somebody asked him, like, sort of why.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a statement that had his response in it. Apparently not. He basically came back and said, knowing what I know about the way the event is being run and what's happening on the inside, I just don't want to be part of it. So he's basically saying that he doesn't agree with them.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why PlayStation dropped out. Maybe there's something that they know that they don't.
No. Sony's reasoning was because they could do it themselves. They didn't need them anymore. It was more of a financial thing, to be honest. But I wonder whether it's to do with their... Remember in their last financial statement thing, they talked about how they're changing the direction of E3 so that it's more focused on influencers and things like that. I wonder whether the direction it's going in is what's made them do this.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not really sure.
They're probably just going to get bloody Ninja or something, aren't they? You just on the face of it.
Who needs Jeff Keighley? We have Ninja.
Yeah, you're going to get him to that stupid... Yeah, that's one, yeah.
It's weird.
New Year's thing, yeah.
It's not going to be the same without him at all.
No.
Like, he's kind of the glue that ties the whole... At least the show floor event together.
It would be like having the Bethesda event without Todd Howard. Like it would just be weird.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
Microsoft about Phil Harrison and etc.
You said Phil Harrison again. Phil Spencer. Phil Harrison's the Google guy.
Google guy. I always do that.
Did it last week.
Always get those guys mixed up.
I think this is really starting to look like the death of E3, isn't it?
Well, people are staying now. In fact, I think he said this himself. That he did in a Twitter reply. He says, "I think E3 needs to become more digital and global. The brand should exist. It's a brand that means a lot to people, but it shouldn't just be on the show floor." So I think people in the industry are starting to get a bit annoyed that it costs so much for a ticket and you have to fly and physically be there to fully experience it. And it's all about what happens in that hall. And with the success of things like Nintendo Direct and Sony State of Play and all that kind of stuff, it's like it's starting to lose its place in the industry. People aren't necessarily that interested in what happens at this event. Like the Xbox one is always so cringe and so cheesy with all the fanboys that are paid to cheer in the background. It's like, we just want to see the bloody games. We don't care about all the parties that are going on.
Yeah, but then
just show us some games.
Cringe compilations, man. Come on.
I know.
What would we do without
true.
cringe compilations?
That
in
is
our life? Like,
that is true.
I don't know how I deal with it.
PewDiePie's bread and butter, innit?
That's like PewDiePie would just his channel would die.
I mean, his channel might be dying. He hasn't done anything in months, but anyway.
Knows, man.
He's on a break. Leave him alone.
Yeah,
Kev, you bastard.
So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time for E3 this year.
One thing that I don't like, and maybe that's my own opinion on in general influence, but I have something in me just thinks that people. Well, companies use these influencers to influencers. Oh my god,
influencers.
These influencers
twice as well. I let the first one slip, but that was
such a mouthy word. Influencers. They use them obviously to promote their product because it's going to get more attraction and people, they think, oh, our my favourite YouTuber or my favourite streamer is using it, so it must be amazing and I must get it myself, yada yada yada. But they're using them too much, I think, and I feel as if when they use these influencers,
the effort
stuff dies. Look at Google Stadia. The amount of times I saw an advert on YouTube for Google Stadia, and it was all these YouTubers promoting Google Stadia. They were all promoting it, and it just hasn't picked up. It hasn't done anything. They haven't. I mean, that might be Google's own problem. It probably is.
It's the product, yeah.
Yeah, in that case it is. But I just don't think influencers are that. Really struggling with this word today. Influencers. Is there another word for these people?
Instapeeps. Just call them Instapeeps.
I know you're saying, Kev, but I don't think that's a fault of that as a marketing strategy. I think the use of influences is influence. I'm doing it. Yes.
God almighty, this word is so funny.
Episode title: Influencer business.
I've already written down influers, so.
No, I'm not going to make a coronavirus joke. So, yeah, it's not the influencer's fault. It's a successful, proven to work method of reaching more people than just a paid advert. Like it does work, but I think people are starting to learn as well that when the people that they follow, the influencers that they follow, are promoting a product, people are starting to learn what to look out for in terms of who's selling out, who's just being paid to say this, and who is actually supporting a product and sharing their experience with it in a genuine way. That's kind of the balance that people need to find. But when you're paying influencers to promote a product that they have no interest in, like Raid Shadow Legends, the best game on mobile.
Raid Shadow.
Like, oh my god.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not. It feels a bit disingenuous and weird when somebody that you respect and like the content of is promoting a product they have absolutely no interest in themselves. It's just weird.
I think that
in that case, for example, if say Ninja was to become E3 the presenter or a few, people wouldn't be going to E3 for E3. They're going to E3 for Ninja, and it'll lose so much of what it's worth. What's the people are not even gonna listen to what the announcements are. They're not gonna do. They're not gonna be there for what it is. It's the same thing. I guess maybe with Google Stadia, maybe there's a lot of people that bought it because of the influencers that promoted it. That they might not be buying this product because they like the product.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it's go on. What are you going to say then?
I was going to. Okay. I think influencers have a place. Yeah. They have their channel, and they have their events related to the content of their channel. But I think that these companies paint such a broad stroke across influencers. Right? They're like, oh, he's a gaming influencer. Ninja plays games, and he's an influencer. Therefore, we could use him to host this thing because everyone would love that. And it's like, no, they have their channel and they have their audience on their channel. The second you drag them out from that audience, which is already on their channel, and shove them in this other audience, you're then stuck with a group of people, 90% of which might genuinely just not like that influencer. You can't take them out of that little ecosphere of their audience, because the second you take them out of that, people don't like them in other ecospheres, so you can't just shove them in another one. It doesn't really work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's why when you look at Ninja doing his floss dance on New Year's, no one gave a shit because 90% of the people in that crowd were just like, who the hell is this?
It's like the companies are looking at things the old-fashioned way. Like how, again, it's the audience thing, isn't it? Back in the day, it would have been how many people buy this magazine, and if it's enough people, that's a good place for us to put our advert in because it's going to get more eyes on it, and it's all about how many people are going to see it. and that's the main thing that they're looking at.
Yeah.
So they just go, all right, let's look at all the gaming magazines, and whatever ones sell the most copies and get viewed by the most people, that's where we'll put our advert. And they're kind of looking at all these YouTubers and whatnot in the same way. They're just saying, look, these people they're vaguely related to our industry, so they're going to get a lot of eyes of people that are vaguely related. It's just like marketing 101.
But it's kind of poor marketing, though, isn't it? Because you wouldn't just... as a good marketer, like, you need to be able to see what the audience of a certain magazine is. Like, if for example, gaming is a broad stroke, yeah, but loads of people play games, great, cool. But I'm not gonna advertise, I don't know, Halo in a PlayStation magazine, am I?
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah,
like it's not.
I get what you
still have to look at what that audience like. Like, why do PC Gamer magazine focus a lot on RTS games? You're not going to put an advert for Animal Crossing. Not even that. Pick an example which is actually on PC. You wouldn't put an advert for Fortnite in the PC Gamer magazine. That would be stupid, because most of the people that read PC Gamer play game like RTS games and strategy games and stuff like that, and that's what their core focus is. If you put a Fortnite advert in there, it's going to have no traction because they don't give a shit about that type of game. I just think it's poor marketing, personally. But then again, this is me being the best marketing.
It's poor, but in some ways it's good, because their end goal is to sell tickets, and it's to sell. I think it's just the loss of what it could be with the potential of what it might be. Does that make sense?
Say again, the loss of what it could be with the... Oh, right, yeah.
The loss of... Yeah, I mean, it could potentially be something really good. And a lot of people do like E3. You know, as a gamer, you can't be sad about it, because it's releasing new content. You're getting new information. It's brilliant.
And you get a cringe compilation from PewDiePie.
Exactly. But then it possibly can turn into where people aren't there, possibly... Obviously, I don't know. I mean, we are making a lot of this up. It might not even be that kind of influence.
I did want to stress that if someone skips ahead and gets to this point in the podcast, they might be thinking that Ninja is actually hosting E3. We used that as like an example so many times. Ninja is not hosting E3 as far as we know. I just want to make that clear.
Imagine he was.
You heard it here first, folks.
I think
One thing's for certain, and well, for me personally, I don't want E3 to disappear as an event, as a week of, like the video game Christmas is what we've called it for so long. It's the week of the year where we just get all of the announcements and all of the hype and all of the companies come together. Yeah, we want that to still exist, but I think one thing's for certain, and that it is drastically going to change very, very soon. It's not going to be what it used to be, this physical event with cameras pointing into it. It's going to become a very different digital event.
That would be so much better. Could you imagine a week event, right? Because everyone would be on board as well. Like PlayStation, even PlayStation would be like it. They're just like, well, yeah, because the reason we dropped out in the first place was, first of all, money, and second of all, this. Like, and E3 would still make tons of money through adverts and stuff like that, and obviously they'll probably make a bit less, I imagine, but then again it costs them a fortune to run the event as well, so I don't even know. It's like I don't even think they'll make that much of a loss by moving it to a digital platform. Imagine just having a week with conferences like throughout, but not conferences, like all of these companies have their own conference rooms as well. That's the other side of it. They could all just live stream their own conferences, and then you still get all the cringe as well, so
yeah.
There's so many like clever ways they could do this. Like,
and E3 as a brand has been going for 25 years now. It's not like it's going to lose any of its hype. It's still there. It's still a thing.
Yeah.
And one thing we do know is it's not completely dead yet. So I've got a minor list of attendees that are confirmed, and that includes Xbox, Microsoft, Ubisoft, Bethesda, Sega, Capcom, Square Enix, Take-Two, Bandai Namco, Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it's not quite dead then.
So not quite dead yet. We've still got plenty. Plenty to look forward to.
I think the one good thing about Sony leaving, it sounds silly, but last year I felt like the other companies felt like they had more of a chance to shine because Sony weren't there.
Yeah.
So they
I agree.
put a lot more effort into their things. I very much enjoyed last year's E3, even though Sony wasn't there. I was sad that Sony weren't there, but I enjoyed Bethesda's, believe it or not. I enjoyed Square Enix as well, and like ones that I wouldn't normally enjoy. I felt like they were putting in a lot more. Like, yeah, let's bloody do this. Sony are gone now. Let's take the crown.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I completely agree. So
we were talking about that for ages. Jeez.
It's interesting. There's a lot,
It is
a lot
interesting,
changing,
yeah.
And good luck to Jeff Keighley. I think he's still going to do the Game Awards. I think it's purely E3 that he's stepping out of.
Oh, is he the Game Awards guy?
Yeah, he's like the presenter of all of the major video game events.
Oh, I didn't realise it was him.
Yeah, man.
Got a nice face.
He's got a nice face.
He's got a nice face.
He does. He's got a nice face. And
We're all just going to
I'm
swoon over his
surprised
face for a bit now. So, a couple of other things. Then we have got the Animal Crossing news. Let's go on to that because we talked about it last week, I believe. One of the things that people were upset about was the whole save game system, not being able to back up your saves, not being able to move them to another platform. They have said that they're working on a solution to that, which I think we said last week already.
Yeah.
But another thing that has changed since then is the ESRB, who basically rate all of the games for the entire industry, have said initially there was a section in their report for in-game purchases for microtransactions. That's now been completely removed. So it's looking like there might not be any microtransactions in Animal Crossing. So
that's good.
it's a little bit more to be excited about. So happy days. On to a cheeky little release, a cheeky little announcement even. So Valve have come out and given a release date for potentially the biggest virtual reality game to date, Half-Life Alyx. And it's way sooner than we thought. It's on March the 23rd, which is in basically a few weeks.
I thought we knew that already. I thought we already knew that it was coming out in March 2020.
It's weird you say that. I thought that as well, but every article that I'm reading is like it's really unexpected and surprising.
Yeah,
because
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that the news article, and I was like, I'm so sure when they announced it, they said it was coming out at the start of next year. Like,
that's what I thought.
like,
yeah, that's what I thought. Because we spoke about it on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
We were like, hey, hold on a minute, that's really soon.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's been confirmed now. March 23rd is the actual date it's going to be released.
do you reckon you can rent?
I've always said that it would be a great idea. Actually, I often thought about that, renting a VR headset.
Yeah, because if I could rent one, even for like £50 for like a month or something, like I would do that just to play through Half-Life Alyx like 10 times.
Yeah, good luck getting hold of an index though. They're completely out of stock everywhere.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Yep. So we've also got the Stardew Valley guy. He has got a couple of new games in the work. 2 new games in the work. He's confirmed. Concerned Ape is his alias, his name. And somebody just asked him in passing online, are you making any new Stardew Valley games? And he has responded and said he's actually working on 2 new projects. One of them does take place in the world of Stardew Valley, but it's not a farming game. The other one, he's not 100% sure about the world yet, but it will tie into Stardew Valley in some way.
That's exciting.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Although I haven't played it, I've heard amazing things about it, and I'm kind of saving myself at this point for Animal Crossing. I am going to dive into that when it comes out because
Man
I
alive.
feel like I need to scratch that itch.
I'm just warning you. You can play Animal Crossing, that's fine. But if you ever play Stardew Valley afterwards, you're going to realise how much of a fool you were for picking Animal Crossing over Stardew. Yeah,
You reckon?
Stardew is genuinely such a good game. It is.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it has so many different elements to it as well. Like every day you wake up, you can do something different. Like you can literally go like dungeons and stuff in it, and sell things and stuff like that instead of just doing farming. You can have set up a farm in a ghost town and stuff, and there's just it's so charming and so nice to play, man. Like whenever I look at Animal Crossing, I just think this just looks a bit naff. It just looks like a naff version of Stardew Valley.
Okay.
I'm probably offending
Well,
so
we'll see.
many people right now, but
Yeah, you are.
Oh well.
Almost half, I reckon. Another article actually came out another story came out shortly afterwards in the same thread on his Twitter page. So obviously this announcement, this unofficial kind of thing that he said in passing, just blew up and went viral. And he replied to it and he said, I see this is blowing up and there are articles coming out, etc. However, please do not get hyped at this stage. He really, really wants to avoid any kind of hype or speculation. And he just wants to make whatever game comes naturally without any pressure or expectations. Which I think is a perfectly fair thing to ask for, especially as the first game came out in that same way of thinking and approach. He just kind of made it by himself and people loved it, and he just did it in his own way.
Right, so cool. Chucklefish, they're the guys that published it. And that ages ago, I read in a PC Gamer magazine that they're releasing a pixel art game which looks similar to Stardew Valley, set in like a witch and wizard school. I can't remember what it's called, but it looked really cool and really interesting, and I thought Charlotte would love it. And I just haven't heard anything since, and we're talking years ago. Like I heard about this, so I'm sort of like, what happened to this game? Like, no,
yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Find it. Let us know.
I'll try and find it. Yeah, I'm sure I took a picture of it somewhere.
I've got a couple more stories.
Yep.
Let's get through these. We've got done that one. So. Did we speak about Nvidia's GeForce Now last week? I think we did, didn't we?
I'm sure we did, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Nvidia's streaming platform. For those who don't know, it allows you to play any game that you own on any of your sort of major game libraries. You basically find the game in the Nvidia user interface. It then goes and finds an online host. It downloads it on the online host. And then it basically just sticks an icon on your desktop, which you can double click to launch the game. And stream
mad, isn't it?
It's really cool.
Just in general, I think it's just crazy that it's
impossible. Really cool.
Yeah,
so the news relating to that this week is that Activision, good guy Activision, Blizzard, who we love
everyone loves
so much right now.
Oh, not again.
Are you serious? Have they actually done something else this week?
Yeah, they're the only.
I'm so bored of talking about
every
them.
week.
They're the only major company that have now pulled out completely of GeForce Now.
Oh, of course.
So they did the same thing with Stadia. They said when Stadia was being announced and people were actually excited about it, they were like, we're not going to put anything on it, but we're going to keep an eye on it. And now they're the only company that have basically pulled out of every streaming service. And it's pretty unanimous that the reason for that is that they want money. So all the other Steam and Epic and Origin are like, yes, cool, man. Like, you do what you got to do. People are paying our game. Sweet.
Yeah.
And Activision are like, no, you have to pay us. That's what it sounds like they're trying to do. They want to strike some massive deal with Nvidia, and they're the only company that have pulled out so far. So you guys know my feelings on Activision.
I just think they hate people.
I think they hate people too.
Just general human. they just despise humans. There's no other thing about it.
That's quite a good synopsis, actually. I think they just hate people. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even want to talk about
I don't. I give up with them, man. Yeah. I'm aware that you hate them, Dan. I think everyone's aware.
I think I made that clear last week, didn't I? So we've got a couple more things. Bad guy Activision, but good guy Kojima Kojima Productions have released some very special merchandise for Death Stranding.
Have they?
Of which I believe all of the profits are going to the Australia Fire Relief. So it's kind of Australia Fire Relief branded type stuff, but Death Stranding merchandise, all for the Australian fire situation.
Oh man, I love my boy Kojima. He's absolutely mental, but I love him.
Me too. He likes people.
He does. He wants to stop them burning. So
yeah, exactly.
He likes people. How much money have Activision donated to it, do you reckon?
All of the profits from Warcraft 3. Wait a minute. So there was a leak a little while ago, as you guys know, as that wasn't even funny, and it tickled me, for God's sake.
Quite good.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So there was a leak a little while ago. As Kevin found out gracefully a couple of hours ago,
gracefully.
There is a Modern Warfare update this week, Season 2, or I think it's called Seasons, is it? Or episodes?
Season 2.
Season 2 has just recently announced this week. It came along with some cheeky CGI cutscene type stuff and some marketing material. And one of the early things that leaked, and I think we've spoken about this potentially on the podcast already, is a battle royale.
It's happening. 100%.
Oh, Rust is already in it, Kevin. By the way, is as well as a couple of other old maps that they brought back. I played a little bit earlier, but yeah, it's nice to see Rust again. 1v1 me, Rust, snipers only, all that stuff.
Classic meme.
Classic. So one of the major leaks, or one of the major rumours, it wasn't really a rumour to be honest, because as soon as the trailer came out, it was kind of obvious what they were doing. It was like 3 guys in a squad moving through a big area, and the gas was closing in around them, and they were running through, and it was pretty obvious. They parachute out of a helicopter, all that stuff.
This has been rumoured since before the game bloody came out, to be honest.
It was almost inevitable, but some more information on the Modern Warfare Battle Royale. I'm only talking about this in news because it could be a big thing. It could
I reckon it probably will be, because the game's really popular in general, whereas the last Call of Duty game wasn't that popular, and the Battle Royale still did really well, but the game itself wasn't. Yeah. So on a game that's actually popular, God knows how well it's going to do.
But so I find it... Oh, yeah, sorry.
Go on, Kevin. That's fine.
No, I just find it a bit unusual that they're taking this long to release it, because
I think there was a lot of tidying up they needed to do.
Yeah, true.
I've already noticed that the game is more stable.
Oh really? Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Wait, does that mean I can actually play with you guys? Be on the same team as you guys?
I might actually join the same game when we search for a lobby.
God.
So it's it feels on PC like they've fixed quite a few bugs and whatnot. So that's probably what they were doing, is just tidying things up, balancing stuff, stabilizing it before they release this. But I'll tell you what we know about it so far, and this is due to a variety of things. Some people managed to get into a lobby by accident. Some people released some screenshots of promo material, and recently, I think it might have even been today, a 2-minute gameplay clip of it actually came out, so we know it's coming now.
Cool.
And there's also, in the main menu of the game, if you haven't played it yet since the update, is a whole new section next to multiplayer and single player, which is just classified at the moment.
Kevin is creaming himself right now, man.
A little bit. It's literally a bit of a wet dream.
It's called Warzone. It's called Warzone. One person has managed to kind of fly up into the air or something and take some aerial screenshots in low resolution of the entire map. So we've got some of that to go and look at if you want a sneaky peek. It's somebody's seen a section in the lobby menu which is customizing your drop kit. So it seems like you actually drop in with some level of gear.
Oh, I love that idea.
And maybe it just gives you a pistol or throwing knives or something. I don't know.
I think Ben loves that idea, because that's one of the things I think Ben hates about the games.
Oh, running around on the ground with no weapons and something.
Yeah, to be fair, that would be quite nice. I feel like everyone should start with a pistol, really, but I feel like they should get activated after 10 seconds or something. So everyone has 10 seconds to just sort of find a place for a cover and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. It's a little countdown before it starts and everyone pulls out a pistol. Oh, wicked.
So I don't even think now. I think it's just stupid that you could land and walk into a building, there'd be nothing there. You walk out the building and someone's he's got an RPG, full loaded backpack, everything, and it's just a bit unfair, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway,
the 2-minute gameplay clip that I saw earlier, I took a few notes from that. I only saw it about half an hour before we started recording, but from what I've seen, it seems to take place in a tutorial of sorts. So you get thrown into a tutorial in the fire range from one of the previous Call of Duty games, and the player runs through and picks up a few different bits of loot. It definitely has weapon rarities. You've got rare and legendary and all that kind of stuff still. There are armor plates from what I could tell, so I don't know if they'll learn their lessons from the previous game, but hopefully it's not crazy level 3 armor like it was before, which I hated. But,
I hope to God, I really, really hope that they've got rid of the armor. I really didn't like it.
I think there's going to be armor from the looks of it, but I just hope there's not like level 3 armor where people just sponge bullets like it's nothing.
Doesn't every game have armor though?
Yeah, most of them do. I'm not a big fan personally, but hey, there is some level of armor in the game, it seems. There's also a system that they're calling, I think it's called plunder or something, and it's basically you pick up stacks of cash and like bags of money, and you can run to supply points and actually purchase things yourself. I don't know if that's just weapons or attachments or armor plates or whatever, but there seems to be a focus on getting money loot, like dropping in, raiding for cash and then getting out again. So I don't know how that's going to work exactly, but
I don't
money
mind
seems to be part of it.
Oh, that could be really cool if there was a progression system outside of it where you had to buy things and you had money for it, and you have to go into games and plunder as much money as you can and escape, sort of thing. Kind of like Escape from Tarkov, as opposed to normal battle royale stuff. That could be really cool.
Could be, but you have to actually win a game before you.
No, but I wonder whether we don't even know whether it's actually a battle royale.
We don't. No, it's called Warzone, by the way. That's what they're calling it.
But bear in mind that Escape from Tarkov is massive at the minute, and that is really a really interesting system as well. So, like, I don't know if people know about it, but basically you load into a map and there's loads of players and NPCs and whatnot, and you go and loot everything, and then you have to escape in one of like a few designated escape areas. And then if you escape, then you get all the loot that you acquired. If you die, then you lose all your stuff. But it's a really interesting system because like you can play dirty and like camp all the exits and stuff, and it leads to some really cool battles, like sort of like the bridge battles in PUBG and stuff. But something like that could be really cool, man. Because the battle royale formula is getting a bit stale, and I think companies are aware of that.
Yeah,
I think they need to do something to make it slightly different, which it looks like they are. So, yeah,
hopefully.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be very soon. I think potentially in the next few weeks, we're going to see that
I reckon
activate.
So, yeah.
It sounds like all the assets are in the game already. They just need to turn it on. So that's pretty cool.
They just need to get that hype train flowing a little bit, and then it'll be good.
Exactly. They've also started like deleting posts and copyright striking people for posting the screenshot, which basically just confirmed its existence. The fact that they were so like harsh with people.
They probably did that on purpose, just to. It's what I mean. They're just getting a hype train flowing, man. They don't.
People are talking about it. We're doing it.
Yeah.
So coming to the end of the news then, one little story. In fact, no, I'll start with the Bleeding Edge beta, which you didn't look too impressed with, Ben, at the announcement, but I was quite keen on, which is basically a melee-based Overwatch game developed Overwatch-type team-based, would you call it?
That one. That looked good. I think it sounded alright, that did.
Yeah, I think it looks interesting. Ben's not keen. It's developed by Ninja Theory, who did Hellblade, so it's something a bit different for them, but the beta is live today. I'm actually in the process of downloading it right now.
Oh, awesome.
So
I was going to say one of you guys should do it.
Yeah, I mean,
we could all play it, couldn't we?
Saying, yeah.
Right, let's all do it.
It's game.
On Xbox, isn't it? Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass. Yeah, if you've got a Game Pass subscription
live,
you can download it right now. You can also download it if you pre-ordered it via Steam, etc. Don't know why you would do that when it's on Game Pass, but hey ho.
If you're some sort of nutter that's not willing to pay £5 a month for it, then go for the £40 one. It's fine. Do it.
So I've got one more story, and it's a weird one.
I'm excited.
So last week in Korea, a TV show came out called Meeting You, and it focused on. This is kind of a sad one.
Dan, you're supposed to end on a happy one.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
I don't care.
It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. So it was a series. I think there were like several episodes. I don't know how many, 5 or whatever. Focusing on a family's loss of their 7-year-old daughter.
Oh, well, this sounds like a very jolly story.
And the finale of the episode attempted to reunite the girl with her mother using virtual reality recreation.
I did see this, yeah.
Complete with audio. God. And I watched the full video, and it's really, really unusual. And at this point, a bit disturbing. But I want to be careful about putting emotions into the mother's mouth, because I don't know what she felt at that point, and I don't know how useful this will be to her. But let me just explain sort of what she experienced for the people that haven't seen it. So they gave her a VR headset with an Oculus Rift and everything else, and from the sounds of it, the rest of the series leading up to this finale was them talking to the family. She has some sisters from the looks of it, and her dad's there and whatnot. And I think they're trying to do information gathering about what she liked to wear, what she was into, how she spoke, the things that she liked. And they built this recreation of her in VR. And the mother, when she gets this thing, she's walking around, free roaming in like a green screen room. And inside her virtual reality headset, she's presented with her daughter. She kind of runs out. They're in like a beautiful forest type area, and the daughter runs out, and it's fully interactive. So the daughter's looking her right in the eyes and speaking in her voice, and she's got touch sensitive gloves on so she can touch and, touch hands and touch her skin and whatnot. And it's weird because obviously the virtual daughter isn't real, obviously, but they've given her like a full script. Like, she's talking back and forth with her. She's written letters to her mum, and the mum's clearly very, very emotional, and her family are kind of watching through TV screens on the sidelines, and they're all crying, and they're all really emotional, and it's really hard to gauge how they felt about it. But I guess the argument here is this a technology that can help in the grieving process?
No. I think it sounds terrible. I hate it.
Know.
That sounds awful.
I don't know. The mother was obviously up for it, and the family seemed to be smiling at points and crying at other points, and it's like a 10-minute video. You can watch the full experience, and by the end of it, she's like saying a final goodbye to her daughter, and she kind of turns into this little glowing butterfly thing and flies around her and lands on her hand, then like fades off into the distance, and it's all very kind of poetic and magical.
Maybe it is
surreal.
Good. Maybe it does help some people for closure. I mean, to me, it sounds horrendous. I'd never want to do that, but I think maybe to some people that didn't have the closure that they wanted, it can just sort of, if they have the imagination for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the hard bit. Because me, if I went into that, I'd just be like, well, this is just clearly a program.
I know. I think in that case, if it was in their situation, Ben, you would not see it as that.
Nah, mate, I'm too hardcore for that.
I'm pretty sure there's a Black Mirror episode exactly like this.
There is indeed.
Probably
yeah.
is.
There's the one with the ginger guy that plays the
doll. The
doll. The one that plays the one in Star Wars, the least aggressive, like menacing looking man ever, that leads like the frickin' Death Star thing in the first new Star Wars film, and it's the same thing where there's like an application where you can text your deceased loved one, and it uses like all of their social media and stuff to create their profile, so that it feels like that, and then you can pay more to talk to them on the phone, and it does the same thing. And then the last stage was getting a robot sort of thing that is modelled off of your loved deceased one, and it's really interesting. But as usual, Black Mirror are just predicting the end of times. So
it's one of those things, because we're at the point now where we're in what they call Uncanny Valley, or the Uncanny Valley, which is basically where things look realistic, but it's so subtly not quite there that we automatically notice that, and it feels a bit uncomfortable. So when you see like, I don't know, certain really high resolution realistic video game characters, but you can look at them and you can tell they're trying to be human, but they're not, and it's just this weird kind of disconnect, and it's subtle, but it's there, and it just makes us feel a bit uneasy. That's kind of where we're at. And when you see the model of the girl, you can tell that she's not real, obviously, and there's like certain ways that she moves and interacts where you're like, she's clearly not real. She's clearly a virtual programmed thing. But I don't know. I feel like it might be different if we were at the point where we could render something indistinguishable from real. Like, it could potentially be something that people find helpful. And I think whether we like it or not, people are going to want to do that. There are certain people on the planet that are going to want to see their grandmother one more time. Or, have one last conversation with whoever it is. And, even if it's their dog, they just want to spend a bit of time with their animal.
I
passed.
I kind of understand it if it's something where, for example, my nan, it would be nice if I was to have like one last conversation with my nan or something, she's been passed away like 10 years ago or something. But just seeing, like if my mom had died and then the next day I have the potential to talk to her in person, I can't imagine that would help in any way, because you'd almost miss them. Maybe it's more personal preference.
Yeah, because it's kind of like it's a set time thing, isn't it? It's kind of like, oh, you could talk to them again, but for 10 minutes, and that's it. Like, so what do you say in 10 minutes? It's kind of, if take the VR thing away, if you could talk to a deceased loved one for 10 minutes, what do you say, and would that even help? Do you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. A big part of it comes from like suspending your disbelief as well, because again, going back to what the kid was doing in this simulation, she was playing and she was being cute and they were enjoying all of her favourite things together and doing a little birthday celebration. And then the thing that kind of got me thinking was the fact that whoever had designed this simulation had the child write a letter to her mum saying thank you for everything and how much she loves her mum and all this, and the mum was like kneeling down and listening and taking it all in and crying and all that kind of stuff. But we all know, including the mother, that this wasn't written by the kid. This isn't the kid's genuine feelings. Maybe it was what the kid felt, and probably was what the kid felt, but the fact that somebody else wrote that is just, there's something a bit unusual about that.
Yeah.
And as much as it seemed to help the mother and the family kind of come to terms with everything and have this one sort of last experience, it's such early technology that it's almost a bit silly to start arguing the potential like psychological and ethical ramifications of this. Like, it could genuinely be quite distressing and it could be quite
damaging.
Dangerous.
Yeah. That's my word. It's a weird one. It's interesting though, but
it is very interesting.
Yeah. The fact that this is happening already is quite surprising, and it's if you're into like all of that, the progression of VR and its uses and whatnot, it's worth going to watch the video, because it's quite bizarre. Like, to see, particularly the expressions and the reactions of the family, to see how powerful that was for them quite clearly. I think it's interesting.
I'll check out
what was it called again?
The show itself was called Meeting You, but if you just type in sort of, mother reunited with deceased daughter or something, you'll find it.
Yeah, it was all like the news and everything. It's quite a...
Yeah, so sorry to end on a bit of a sombre note, but I thought that was a...
It's alright, I've got a new story for you guys, don't worry.
Story. Go on, it better be a bloody happy one.
It's not happy, but it's amusing.
Cool, that works for me.
Cool. So, after Activision, who are our favourite game company?
EA.
Bethesda. Oh.
No and no.
Nintendo?
So Google Stadia.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're not a game company.
Oh, God, that's true, yeah. So, remember we were talking about the 120 games coming?
Yeah.
And everyone's been really excited to find out what the games are. They've only gone and done an announcement.
Oh my
gosh.
Guys,
strap yourselves in, because I can't think of 5 better games, to be honest. Just, when you're down in the dumps and you're down there in the bottom of this trench and you've got all these people just firing shite at you, you've got cannons firing at you from I don't know, IGN, you got nukes dropping down from GameSpot, all sorts. How are you going to get out of that situation?
Announce some really good exclusive games.
Really, really good exclusive games. Right. You ready?
I'm so ready.
We've got Lost Words Beyond the Page.
What? Who?
Yeah.
Wait, that's my favourite game.
Wait, that's my favourite game. It's a puzzle game. Yeah. So yeah, and
is it exclusive?
I don't think so. No. Then they've got Spitlings, which is an arcadey multiplayer game with a unique twist. You control a character called a Spitling that has teeth. It can spit or use to jump.
You play as a square.
But don't worry, there's more. They've also got a game called Stacks on Stacks. Have you guys heard of
Stacks on Stacks?
A little concept of remember that game that was on iPhone about 12 years ago, where you had to build a tower.
Yeah.
It used to go across.
Are you serious? It's like reverse Jenga.
Yeah.
It's
a 3D tower builder in which players try to build up a tower out of falling blocks and defend it against ghosts, giant babies, and other enemies.
Giant babies.
But there's more.
Oh my gosh.
So.
Oh, please save this. Please.
You know, have you guys heard of a little game called Panzer Dragon?
Panzer Dragoon? Yeah.
Dragon. The second I was silent.
Not Panzer Dragoon.
No, yes, Panzer Dragoon. So, Panzer Dragoon remake is coming.
Oi, lads.
Yeah.
To Stadia?
Yeah, you know that game that no one likes? That one.
No, quite a lot of people like Panzer Dragoon. It's had a lot of requests for remakes.
Have you seen Panzer Dragoon?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a shit version of Star Fox.
But lots of people really like it.
Okay, fine, that's great. I'm really happy for Stadia.
Ages. But it's coming to Stadia.
Yep. And finally, okay, we've got one more. This is the one, all right. The nuke is falling, okay? It's falling. It's reached about 120 miles an hour, okay? It's not a very fast nuke. And
here comes a deflection.
Yeah, this is it.
Just
He's pulling it out, right?
It's the baseball bat.
He's pulled out his deck of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, all right? He's pulled off the first one. He's believing in the heart of the cards, right? He's believing. He's hoping for Doom. He's hoping for Doom Eternal. He's hoping for the best shooter game that you could possibly think of. Wolfenstein, Doom, Call of Duty, and he came out with Serious Sam collection. So he hasn't done very well. He didn't believe in the heart of the cards well enough.
Oh no!
Yo, Serious Sam is sick though.
No, it's not.
I thought one Serious Sam I ever played was so good.
So, isn't that the first Hello Games game?
No, that's that Joe Dangerful, whatever it was called.
Oh yeah.
So you know they're doing all right. We got Lost Words, which is a puzzle game. Stacks on Stacks, which is a tower building game. Spitlings, which you can use your teeth to spit or jump with.
More than half of them are mobile games.
Yep, Panzer Dragoon, which is arguably popular, and Serious Sam collection. So, good job, man. You're doing well. Proud of you guys.
You know
that
what?
Actually hurts.
It does a little bit, doesn't it?
At least they've only got 115 more to release.
Oh man, you know the I'm sure the Stadia community on Reddit are like, finally, these were the games we were asking for.
Oh no.
Google, what are you doing?
I'm speechless.
Yeah.
That is not what I was expecting, like some maybe some older games that are already out.
Yeah, Serious Sam collection.
Like you said. I mean like you said, some of the Wolfenstein games or some Bethesda games or I don't know, Battlefield or something.
But I have a theory about this, right? Just a heads up, the Serious Sam collection came out on Xbox 360.
Yeah.
I don't know how old it is, but
it was sick though.
Judging, it's probably pretty old. But what was I saying? Oh, I have a theory that the reason this has flopped harder than it normally would is because all of these other companies are working on their own streaming services, so they're not willing to put their games on Google. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like they can't get any Bethesda games on there because Bethesda got their own one.
Yeah, exactly.
And things like that. So I reckon they've released this thing with no assets behind it because they don't have the games to put on there, hoping that every other company would be like, yeah, go on then, why not? And then they've all gone, no, we're working on their own. Sorry, mate. So
that is funny.
Yeah, it's harsh, man. Anyway, there you go. A little bit of light-hearted Yu-Gi-Oh fan fiction to get you to get you in the mood for what we have been playing, because Kevin's been playing Yu-Gi-Oh, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, man.
Duelist Kingdoms. Whoa.
Yes, good game, to be fair. Anyway, who wants to start? Dan, you go. Go on, what have you been playing? Big man.
Me, I was not ready for that. I've just spoken for so long.
Oh, you have? No, it's a bit harsh putting you first. Kevin, hit us.
Well, I haven't gonna put a...
I haven't gonna put the...
yeah, I'm gonna say every word other than any games I've actually played.
Okay, cool, yeah.
I'm gonna have a little revamp. I'm gonna start trying to get myself into some more... I'm a very... If people have been listening to this for quite a long time, they'll know that I'm a very multiplayer-esque kind of guy. I like playing with people. Fortunately, the lives we live nowadays, and we have to actually be adults.
We do.
We can't always play with other people. And I'm going to try and dive into some more single-player games that none of us have played before.
Yes.
Hey.
Hopefully that goes well, and I can find some love for some single-player games, because I find it very tricky to.
I think it will. I mean, we were talking before the pod, and I was just sort of saying, I think you need to stop picking the massive epic RPG games. If you're not really into single-player games that much, why are you picking a 60-hour game to play? There's a lot of indie games out there, you know.
I downloaded Monster Hunter the other day.
Oh, man. God. 60 hours would be, like, quick to complete that game, man.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of games I played this week, I'm pretty sure it's only been Disco Elysium, because
it's alright.
I'm quite a slow reader, so I felt like I have to kind of get a bit of a head start.
Yeah, it's going to be awful for me as well. What are your first impressions, without giving too much away?
There's a lot of reading.
Gathered that, yeah.
There's still a few parts of I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish this game with still questioning a few parts of the game that I don't understand what they mean or why they're in the game.
Okay.
So
one example?
Okay, so you have the mental part of the game that when you're talking to someone, occasionally you'll talk to your brain or a part of your brain.
Yeah.
And it will have, for example, it will have medium and then success. But I've never had medium and fail, so I don't know. I don't know if it means anything. And
success is the result of like a dice roll. So if it says medium, you've got a medium chance to pass that test. And if it says
but what test,
high,
though?
you've got a high chance. So you obviously haven't played like tabletop role-playing games before, but no. What will happen is you've got to open a door with a lockpick, and that requires dexterity with your hands, right? So the dungeon master will say, okay, so use a lockpick to try and open the door. Now roll a dexterity check. And depending on how good your dexterity is, the number that you need on those dice will change. So if you've got really low dexterity, you need to roll really high. If you've got really high, you need to roll really low.
So it's very, very similar to Warhammer.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I understand that, but the only times that ever exists is when you have a potential... It literally has a percentage next to whether or not you're going to succeed or fail. Which, by the way, I don't know if the dice are rigged, but something is very against my percentages.
Just unlucky.
I mean, I'm telling you, I had an 83% chance of winning one of these things, and I failed it. So
yeah, that will happen.
It was very frustrating, considering I specifically put, because I didn't realise there was a levelling up system. It wasn't until I because I saw the map of all your stats that I put in, but I didn't think you could get any more. It wasn't until I I needed to pass something, and it said you need to add more skill levels into this.
Oh.
And I was like, oh. So I had to look around, and I saw that I had 2 little skill points to add. So I stuck them both in the thing I needed to win, and I still bloody lost it anyway. So
Yeah. You just got to, with that game, you just got to roll with the failures as well, because often the writing and the result of the failure is almost just as interesting or
yeah, that's true.
engaging.
Yeah, that's the way D&D works, isn't it? So, like, a failure, you shouldn't really call it a failure because it just means that you're going down one path instead of another path, basically.
Unless you make a really obviously stupid choice, which could kill you.
Yeah.
Like, and that's how the writing in that game works. When you do something, you have to kind of have a logical reason why that might work. Like, if you try and do something completely ridiculous, then you're going to have like a 5% chance of failing, and it could end up being a complete disaster. Like, yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, I think is his name Kim? Is he the guy that's with you?
Kim's your companion, yeah.
Yeah. How he hasn't walked away from you, I do not know.
He's a supportive chap, isn't he?
Like, the half the time, he's basically just face palming every literal thing you do.
Yeah.
You say.
Oh.
But
He's
he's still
impress.
there. He's still, you know.
I love Kim, man. I absolutely love him.
Are you still enjoying it, though, at the minute?
I am, yeah. I spent a long time. I mean, I don't know how much to give away, but for one, I haven't got the body down yet. I have literally no clue on how to get the body down.
It took me a few days just to give you a heads up. So
okay. I still haven't actually finished the first day yet. I feel like I've explored near enough the entire map, and I still haven't finished the first day. I don't know if you're meant to wait.
So I heard you have to wait. You have to sleep at a certain time. So if you're done with the day, you need to basically take up time by. So it's time progresses when you're in conversations, and when you're reading a book, and when or you can have a nap on a park bench or something.
Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah. So you use those things to progress time, and then.
What's Kim gonna do when you're having a nap on a bench?
Just stand there face palming.
Yeah.
But use those things until it gets to, I think it's like 10 o'clock or something, and then at that time you can sleep, and then the day's finished.
Okay, because again, I feel like I've done so much stuff in this game, and I haven't even finished a day. And you meant to do some. There was one moment where it said you can do something without Kim, because you need to do certain things without him there, otherwise he thinks you're an idiot or something.
Well, clearly he thinks you're an idiot anyway. But
the thing. Oh no! Because I remember when Dan was talking about this game initially, and he was saying about the guy when you launched the ball over the fence.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Is this the moment he's talking about?" Because he doesn't look like. But Dan was saying like you shot put it, and I was like, "Why would you shot put this thing?" And yeah,
exactly.
He just spins around, just yanks it over the fence.
What did you do with them guys? Did you play the game with them?
Yeah, I started playing it with them, and then
Did you do the same thing?
Yeah,
You did
just
that as
threw the
well.
ball over the
Okay.
fence.
It's quite fun.
all right,
Okay.
let's call it there because
Ben, have you started it yet? Just
no, me and Charlotte have played it this weekend. So the Dark Souls, Jesus, Ben, come on. Disco Elysium is our Moonlight game for February, so we all have to try and complete it by the end of the month, and then we're going to do a big super duper review thing on it. So you'll hear a little snippets of it, but we won't go into too much detail because we're going to do a big old review of it, and it's best to be fresh for that thing, if that makes sense, instead of just reiterating the stuff we've said every week beforehand. So, but you haven't played anything else, have you, Kev?
No, I think we've spoken it before that I might, if I pick up Celeste, I might pretend. I would like to stream it with a camera just for the fact I think more seeing the rage in my face.
Yeah, it would be perfect.
I would love to see your reaction to
that
game.
I don't know where I'm going to get a good camera from.
Just ask our IT department.
Oh yeah,
Just sort it out.
Yeah.
The thing is annoying because my iPhone's got a good camera, but
Yeah, it's just.
I tried to do that. It's so fiddly. Don't even
It's
bother.
an effort to set up. Yeah, you better just buy yourself a 720p camera. You'll be alright.
Less than £20, £15 maybe. You get a really good one.
Yeah. I'll go halvesies with you if you want, because it's.
Wait, can you
I'll
actually
chip in.
pay that much for it?
I'll chip in too.
Yeah, it's like 15-20 quid. You only need a 720p because you're not going to be able to stream a 1080p video with 1440p video source anyway. So you might as well just get 720p.
I thought you were joking about it.
About what?
Oh, that's how much you spend for a camera like that. I was expecting it was going to be like hundreds.
No.
Oh, blimey.
No.
Very out the camera tech.
Yeah, so you could spend hundreds on getting a webcam, but you wouldn't even be able to stream that source anyway with your computer because like Dan was saying, it's really hard. This is completely anyway. Yes, get a camera, and Kevin is going to stream Celeste, which is going to be a joy because Kevin has a temper.
It might not be next week because I am in. No, it's not. No, not next week. The week after, I'm in Venice. So I don't.
That's cool. No. When we do it,
point.
I'll announce it on Insta and all the social medias. So very exciting. It'll be good. I'm looking forward to playing it. I reckon it's well up your street. That game, like proper challenging platformy style. It's just it's great. Anyway, cool. I'll go next then because Dan was chatting for hours about news. So I have been playing. I have picked up the game that I mentioned to you, Dan, but I haven't played it yet because I was sorting out my room today. So I'm definitely going to play it this week. Yeah, I won't say what it is. I'll leave it for excitement. So I've been playing a little game, quite well known as Life is Strange.
Oh my word! Wow. Really?
Yeah. So me and Charlotte have had it on our list to play for freaking donkeys, man. Like I've had it downloaded on my computer like a couple of years maybe. Like it's so long, and we've been talking about.
Have you never picked it up?
No, I've had it. I've owned it for ages, okay. But we've just never played it, and it's always been like we'll always look at a trailer for it and be like, yeah, that's all right, let's play it. And it's quite a fun game to play with people as well because it's decision making and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So first impressions. I hated the. I thought it looked hideous at first, and then I realised I think it looks great. It looks like a comic book, but it has this really interesting art style, which is not good, but it kind of works in the world. I can't really explain it. I think it looks quite nice now, to be honest. Kind of looks sort of.
It's very bright.
It is very bright. Yeah.
Just to let you know, I've watched a YouTuber play like the first 3 episodes of it all. So.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, cool. The gameplay wise, it's okay, I guess. It's a kind of standard Walking Dead Telltale game style formula. So go and brush your teeth, and then you can brush your teeth, and it's like, which way do you want to push the brush first, left or right? And, so it's that sort of stuff, but. The gimmick of this is basically that you can rewind time, and
I love that mechanic.
It is really interesting, yeah. And you can sort of remake a decision depending on the way things go. But at first I thought, well, surely you can just see the outcome of that decision and then be like, well, you can change it back again. But you can't because you can't change it after a certain point. And it also, I feel like it sort of changes the way it displays what happens after. So basically, you make a decision, and then after the decision, you might think it's the wrong decision, and then later on, you'll find out that it might have been the right decision for the route you want to go down. So it won't make it very obvious straight away that you've made the wrong decision, or it will try and hoodwink you into thinking you've made the wrong decision, or a bad decision, to go down the bad path, sort of thing. But it isn't actually the bad path. If that makes sense? Yeah. So it's quite clever in that sense. It's quite cool. The writing is quite good, I think, so far.
Apparently it gets much better.
Yeah, I imagine it probably will. It's all right. It's not bad by any means.
It's kind of like almost like a coming of age story. The first chapter, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like a teen goes to school, deals with relationships and bullies and friendships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that kind of
I've played 1.5 episodes with Charlotte, and it's good. I'm quite enjoying it. I think it needs to spice up a bit now because it's intriguing at this point. We're walking around seeing these people and seeing all these, personalities of people and finding out information about certain characters and thinking, ooh, that's interesting. I wonder what he's up to. I wonder what she's up to. What's going on here, sort of thing. And it's really interesting like that. You kind of feel like a detective almost. But I think there's only so much of the coming of age stuff that I can handle before it gets to the point where I'm just playing like a team rom-com sort of thing. It's just like, oh, come on. But
I'm an 18-year-old female.
So yeah, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's all right. I wouldn't be able to recommend it yet. I mean, it's been out there for donkeys anyway. If people wanted to play it, they would have played it by now. So, and the other game is the game that I was playing. Sorry, I just turned away from the mic. The game that I've been playing with Dan, which is Journey to the Savage Planet again. And do you want to start with this one, Dan?
I can do. I mean,
yeah, got you start because I want to know what you think.
Okay.
You guys quite enjoyed this when you first started playing last time.
Yeah,
I was very, very optimistic about it.
I would say I still am. I think it's a really nicely made co-op experience. I think it would still be fun single player, but I think the co-op in it just allows you to share a lot of the funny stuff that happens, and the silly comedy and the laughs. And I still stick by the fact that you said this the other day, that it's perfect for children.
Yeah,
in like a cartoony kind of way.
Yeah.
It is not overly challenging. It has some challenging sections, but it's quite forgiving as well. And the world itself and the way it's built, and the visual spectacles, lots of the creature design and the flora and the fauna, it's very eye-popping and very engaging for kids to kind of go, oh wow, look at that, you know. So that element of it is really cool. The comedy side of it, again, we said this last time we spoke about it, particularly the adverts in the game. I think kids would laugh at the kind of slapstick, silly nature of it, but it's kind of infused with this more relevant adult satire.
Exactly, yeah.
Is so good.
It's like watching
these
SpongeBob.
little digs.
Like it's just got all this childish humour in it, but with these little sly adult jokes in it, and it's brilliant, man.
It's the relevant digs that I love.
Oh man, I'm going to post one on social media this week, and
dude.
But it's just so. I was laughing so much at that.
Yeah, and it's persistently done that as well, because it's quite interesting what it does. It's like an open world basically, but it's split off into sections which you kind of are taken through by relatively linear line of quests. And every time you complete a main quest, you're kind of forced to go back to the ship and do an upgrade or something to get a new item so you can progress further in another section. But every time you go back after finishing a main quest, it adds a little bit more content to the TV in your spaceship, like a new advert or and they're all like very commercials, right?
Yeah.
For different companies and different products in this world. And they're brilliant. They're ridiculous.
They're just fantastic. They're like you know a lot of people see Family Guy. You know, wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. They're kind of like that advert. They're just so completely wild and off the rails. Like they're insane.
It also reminds me of the what's it called? The transdimensional cable TV.
Yeah, Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. That's
like fake doors and what's it called? Like Bees in My Eyes, Larry, or whatever his name is. Like it's like this ridiculousness of it is great, but in terms of the game itself, it's unstable at times, to say the least. Like a little bit buggy.
Yeah.
And a little bit weird with the floatiness, but it's indie, you know. So
it is indie. I reckon it could have done with a bit more time in development. To be honest, there's quite a few edges they needed to polish out. Like just simple things like animations just not working. Like they have all these really
you T-posed.
Yeah, I T-posed for about half an hour apparently. But things like even to the point where it affects gameplay though. Like, there's a lot of really interesting moving mechanics in it. Like, you get this proton tether thing, which is basically a grappling hook, and you can there's 3 different ways you can use it. You can use it to just cling onto like a wall. You can use it to swing, or you can use it to travel along these like I don't know, I can't remember what they're called. Like these vines, basically, and you travel along them like a zip wire sort of thing. And but they just a lot of the time they don't work. Just because you get stuck on invisible walls, and it could have been such a fluid, nice movement and stuff, but it really doesn't feel that nice to play, which is it's a damn shame because it's such a nice game and it's so pleasant to play in one sense, but so frustrating in another sense.
Is the in terms of the actual gameplay, you said that you can play this game on your own, or you can play with 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Does playing with two people, does it add anything extra to it? As in, are you able to do things not that you have to work together to solve something?
Not really, no.
Or is it?
It's kind of.
Is it simply like, for example, Borderlands? You're almost doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's
together.
more like that, to be honest. It's not. It doesn't really add much, but it's still fun. Like, it's one of those things where I wish every game just had a multiplayer mode, even if it was just strapped onto it like this one is. Like, it's not. Doesn't.
See, I don't know, man. I would say that it doesn't add much from a gameplay perspective, but in terms of sharing the experience with somebody else, into like absorbing the world and making decisions on where you want to go next, and
like occupying the same space when you both tether onto a wall.
Yeah.
So
if you grapple off a surface at the same time and land in the same spot at the same time, you literally merge into one and you can't move. And there were so many times where we were just like stuck in the same place.
Yeah, and you sort of like rubber band back to the same spot when you get away from it. It's just...
But I wouldn't say that it was frustrating. I would say that the movement's actually quite nice. You can double jump and you can slide, and it's got a couple of hitches, but I wouldn't say that they were massively disturbing.
No, I think I'm being a bit harsh because I've played a lot of games which do it better, I think, if that makes sense. Where I need to be... It is an indie
But
game.
you can be harsh, though.
I know I can be harsh, but I need to... I'm not giving it enough credit for what it does right. Like, the creature design is amazing. I love it so much. Yeah. I honestly adore it. It's like, it reminds me of Spore. Just like it's like all these creatures are made in Spore. They're just these completely bonkers but colourful, and they all have their own sort of like attitude, and like all these chickens that we were killing at the start. These just little puny little chickens. Eventually, they start honestly, becoming like a little army, and like you attack one, and a little trumpet sounds, and they all just like charge at you. It's so good.
That sounds pretty good.
It's brilliant.
It's the attention to detail, I think, that makes this game, and it's just subtle things. Like, one of the first things you get in the game to interact with the world is like a slap, like a melee attack. But it's literally like there's 3 or 4 different animations that it rotates between, and one of them is just like a big wide hand slap, and one of them is like a backhand. But the attention to detail comes from the fact that you can hold the button down, and it doesn't charge it up or anything. It just primes it, so you can walk up to the other person you're playing with and just prepare a backhand and stare at them with a backhand ready to go.
And it sort of like vibrates as if it's like powering up. And it's so...
And then it just makes a little slap noise, and it doesn't do any damage, and it's hilarious. But then like the chickens will come running towards you, and you can slap them, and because they're so light, they'll just go flying, and all the different creatures interact with each other, which is really cool. Like, there's all these like subtle kind of ecosystem things going on, and it looks beautiful as well.
It does, yeah. I wish it ran better.
Looks stunning.
But I mean,
I think it runs fine. My experience.
It doesn't really on mine. I don't know why. It might be maybe because you're host, possibly. I don't know.
Oh, potentially.
Because of that. But it was. I reckon if this game had another few months and a bit more money, maybe it could have been something really special. Like it could have been up there with like. Even to be honest, it sounds bizarre saying it already at this point of the year. It could have been up there potentially in like a Game of the Year list for what it does. If that makes sense.
I think it only needs a patch. I think it just needs a performance patch.
Maybe, maybe a performance patch would be.
And I think that's all it needs. Other than that, I think the gameplay is great. The platforming is brilliant. Maybe a couple of animation updates would do it some good. But I think it does. Yeah, I think what it does really, really well. And I was having a proper blast on it. I can't remember the last time I've sat and played a co-op game for like however many hours we played it for the other day, and just been completely engrossed in it and not wanted to log off.
Yeah, we were literally like, it got to what, like 11, half 11 or something. We were like, we should probably stop. And then we were like, I just want to see what the next area is. And the world is amazing, and it's the humour that does it for me, though, to be honest.
Yeah, it's the writing.
Yeah, the writing is fantastic. Yeah. I think, Kev, I think we should at some point play it again. Like, I'll happily play it again with you at some point if you want to play a co-op, because like there's just so many laugh out loud moments. I feel like you need to experience them firsthand, if that makes sense.
It's a shame the game can't be played free player, considering it doesn't affect each other.
Yeah, it really is. But,
I agree.
I mean, there has to be a limit on it. This happens all the time. People are like, oh, why is Destiny only 3-player fire teams? I have 4 people in my party I want to play with. And then you get 4-player games and like, why is it 4-player? I have 5 people I want to play with. Like, it's always going to be an issue, you know? Like, it's like gunfight on Call of Duty. There's 3 of us. We really want to play a 3v3, but that's just not a thing. But then you have 3v3. If there was 4 of us, we'll be like, why can't it be 4v4? You know, it goes on forever. Like, it's just you have to put a limit on it, I guess.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. But it's great, yeah.
We definitely want to finish it before next week.
Yeah, we will. We'll definitely finish it before next week, yeah.
Good.
Not much longer left. Have you played anything else? That's all I've played this week. It's been a pretty manic one for me.
I've played 2 other games. I've dropped in to a couple of bits and pieces here and there. I dropped into Children of Morta a little bit more.
Oh, they've got an update, haven't they?
I don't know. I haven't experienced it.
If
they have, but I just jumped in from where I left off. Did a bit more sort of grinding. Progressed a little bit further.
Still liking it?
Played with some more of the characters. Like one of the only new things I've got to report that I really enjoyed about it was some of because the dungeons are all randomly generated, right? And sometimes you'll go through like a portal, like a gate, and it'll give you a reward, and other times it will give you like a narrative-based thing. So like the situation we talked about with the puppy protecting the mum against demons, that happened in one of these sort of randomized rooms. But one of the things I experienced the other day was more in the sense of like mini games when you go into them. So sometimes it's like a random little boss fight.
Is this the Pong one?
Defend the waves. The Pong game came up, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. And and I'm still impressed that in between each of my runs that I was doing, I was still getting little snippets of story and like proper fully animated bits where the dad and the kid are playing catch and baseball and stuff.
I just wonder how much do you have to play for that content to run out? Like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, I'm astonished that it's still going.
Would it? Isn't that part of the game? Isn't that part of the...
But it's an infinite game. Like it's a roguelike, so you just keep going and doing runs and pushing further.
Are you sure? Are you sure you're not? You just haven't got to far enough in it that you don't know.
Well, the fact that I've played several hours of it and I'm only like in the second or third area because it's really hard, and every single time I do a run, it does a bit more with the story, fully animated, is really impressive. Like I think at some point there will be an end to the story, obviously, but yeah, it just feels like it's done really.
I know what you mean. In a game which
engaged,
has like not infinite playthroughs, but like the fact that it is advertised, it is a roguelike game. You're supposed to do it over and over and over again. It would be like there being a cutscene between every single time you play Binding of Isaac.
Yeah,
you know, you get 100 games in and there's still cutscenes, and you're like, what like how is there still new content? Like it's kind of like that. I get that this one is finished and it does have an ending, but like it just feels insane that they're still like, how much effort have they put into this? It's mad.
Yeah. So I had some fun with that. That was a really nice chill game to play. The other 2 games that I've played, I know I said 2, but it's actually 3. One of them is Stoneshard, which I will talk about a bit later because I believe somebody who's got in touch with us wants to talk about that a bit. So I'll save it for that. The other game is a brand new game which came out yesterday, which I've played quite a lot of, and I'm really, really enjoying.
Excited.
Called Wolcen, Lords of Mayhem.
I've never heard of it, Dan. Oh my god, it's a game I haven't heard of. I'm so excited. Go on.
I'm surprised you haven't heard of it. So it's obviously one of the... As soon as I start describing it, you're going to be like, oh my god, it's such a Dan game. Oh.
Is it a D&D game?
Not quite. It's an action RPG.
Okay.
It's very, very much in the vein of Diablo 3.
Cool. Yeah.
Very much a Dan game.
What's it called? Wolcen, Son of Mayhem.
Wolcen, Wolcen, Lords of Mayhem. It came out of beta for the full release yesterday, and I love it. I absolutely love it. This
looks juicy, man.
There's a lot of games in this vein, so I played a lot of Diablo 3.
Some might say
a lot
too
of Diablo
much.
2. But I played a lot of Diablo 3. I played quite a lot of Torchlight 2. Played a lot of Diablo 2.
I barely want to play a game like this again, man.
Pick it up, man. It's really good. I played a lot of Path of Exile. So I love these sorts of games. So I'm going to try and talk about what it does differently rather than just what it is. too much. It's an action RPG. You choose a character, you choose a class. It's got skill trees, tons and tons and tons of loot, lots of different armor sets, and you basically slash your way through demons and bosses and randomly generated dungeons and different areas, and just keep pushing through the game and leveling up and becoming more and more powerful. And you just slay hordes and hordes of demons.
So it sounds like Diablo.
Yeah, exactly. But some of the things that this game does really nicely. First of all, it's using the Cry engine, I believe.
Juicy.
So it looks stunning. Like it looks like a next generation action RPG. I'd be surprised if Diablo 4 or Path of Exile 2 look much better than this. Like it looks really, really good. It's got some really interesting armor system. So it uses something that they call in the asymmetrical armor system, which means when you pick up a pair of gloves in most games, you pick up 2 gloves and you put them on. In this game, you pick up 1 glove at a time. So you put 1 glove on one hand and 1 glove on the other hand.
That's so cool, man.
So it's quite nice that you can sort of adjust not only the more fine-tuning of your gear, but you can adjust how your character looks. So you might find like a really cool shoulder plate or something, and you can just have one big shoulder plate on one side.
Yeah, or you could have like a massive beefy
cool
gauntlet that holds a shield, and then like a really... like a claw one that holds a sword or something.
Exactly. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Cool, yeah.
And you can do what they call transmogging in these games, which means you can any item that you pick up, you can then use the image of that item and apply it to any other item. So you can use the stats from one item and the look of another item. So it's got the whole fashion side of it as well.
Oh, that's cool. That's really nice.
So it looks stunning. The movement is pretty nice. It does need a bit of tidying up in the bug side of things, but I'll give them credit. It's been out for a day and they've been very engaged.
Give them a chance.
Good, actually.
Pick up your game.
About addressing like these bits and pieces, they've been amazing actually in terms of the development. It's got 0 microtransactions or anything like that, so it's just you pay once and you've got the whole game.
Nice.
It's just the combat feels so good, like really, really good. Like you know how in Diablo 3 you'll slash the horde of zombies and you'll get the ragdoll effects and it'll throw bodies everywhere.
Yeah.
It does the same sort of thing, but it just feels a bit more visceral. Like you can feel the sword like cutting through stuff and blood splatters across the floor and it picks up the light and it's really immersive. And the environments are beautiful and there's a lot of diversity in the areas that you go to. And what I love about this game more than any other action RPG that I've played to date is the difficulty curve is perfect.
Ooh, okay.
I have attempted... So, to give some context, in any Diablo 3 boss, it's a slugfest. You basically just get as powerful as you can, stand on the spot and just spam your abilities and potions until it's dead.
Pretty much.
Right? Simple as that. Yeah. Sometimes you have to walk out of the way of the red bits on the floor.
That's like the perfect description of Diablo.
Yeah. So this game's really nice. There's tons of diversity in how you build your character. Massive free roaming skill trees. There's no class system per se. You can build your character however the hell you want. You can be a battle mage. You can be an archer. You can be a gun wielding totem dude that's with a shield in one hand and a gun in one hand or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you can build it however you want. You look awesome. And then it still makes you think about how to approach some of the bosses. And they're not majorly punishing, but the boss at the end of I think it's the end of the first chapter, the boss that I'm currently fighting is really hard. Like really, really hard. It telegraphs all these different attacks and you've got to be constantly moving and you've got to balance your resources as you're fighting him. And your brain is completely engaged with this fight. And I've fought him, 4 or 5 times so far? I haven't got him yet. I'm getting closer and closer each time.
That's good.
But it's really challenging and it's so rewarding, man. And the loot is so cool and juicy. And the soundtrack's really good as well. Like really good immersive orchestral soundtrack, which has all this chanting, and the world itself has like people talking in the background and stuff. And just like you can hear the demons kind of having these crazy little kind of muttering rants to themselves as they're kind of walking around. And it's really nice, good. Man. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait to play more of it. Just go crazy. But yeah, the only thing I would say that isn't that great maybe is the story is a bit cheesy. Like the writing is a bit but it's alright. It's cool how story driven it is compared to other games. I like that it's got it. It's just when it comes to these back and forth conversations between characters, it's a bit like, that was the delivery on that wasn't too great, was it? Like, you don't sound as cool as you think you do, buddy.
The delivery on that wasn't great. It's brilliant.
Yeah, so it's got a bit of that going on. But what was really interesting... Sorry, one more thing to say is I bought it because it was all over, my feeds and whatnot. I've been following it for a while. The day before it came out, obviously, social media started to talk about it more. I decided I was going to pick it up and play it on day one.
Mm.
And I didn't realise, but I'd picked it up a bit early. So when I installed it, I'd actually installed the beta version of the game. And I'd played through on my first character and got to a certain point, a couple of hours in or whatever. And I was seeing all these like cracks and creases in it, and I was like, "Oh, it's okay. It's just released. It's fair enough." And then the next day, I logged in to play it. There was a small update, and it said that we've wiped all the servers. This is now the full release. And I was like, "Oh, so basically, I've lost my character, so I have to start again." Oh well, annoying. I'll try something different. Yeah. So it's cool that I've got to try two completely different characters, which is pretty cool. But the difference between the beta version of the game and the full release, just a day apart. I mean, obviously, it's more work than that for them to build it, but just the difference in the subtle quality of the cutscenes and the camera angles and the movement and the animations and all of these little things in like the UI and stuff. It just gives me a lot of hope for how this developer is supporting the game. Yeah. It's a drastic change, and it feels so much better than it did just the day previously. And because I got to play them so close together, go through the same experience in two different ways.
You see the stark contrast,
Absolutely, yeah. It's really cool, and it's only like £20-something, I think, £20 to £30. It's not like a £50 game, which I think is really cool. Yeah.
Do you know much about the developers? Have they had a previous?
I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it, but I think it's really interesting that they are competing. They're relatively indie. I know that much. I mean, that's not really a description, but they're relatively small scale.
Yeah, they're either indie or they're not, Dan. You can't be relatively indie.
Yeah. They're pretty small scale, and they've had some issues, and the game came out and they were like quite public at how shocked they were at how well it did, which gives me the impression that they're kind of new to this. They didn't realise how popular it was going to be. Basically, their servers just went down on day one. Like, nobody could log in.
Classic.
But it's cool. You can play offline, you can play online. It doesn't matter. You've got all the choices. If you want to make an offline character, you can do that. If you want to make an online character, you can do that.
So can we play together?
Yep, it's completely online.
Damn.
I'd have to make a new character, but I'm so down for that.
You guys can play that. I have not got the time for that, but
way to tickle my fancies.
Hey, they should hire me as like their PR guy.
They should, just for me. Me and Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte likes my descriptions. It's a lot of fun. It's really, really satisfying to play. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the boss fights progress.
It's a new company, I think, by the way.
I think it might be, yeah. The fact that they're competing in this space right now with Diablo 4 on the horizon and Path of Exile 2, which are two massive titles, and they've released something of this higher quality. I mean, we might even have Lost Ark coming to the West pretty soon, which is also massively raved about. The fact that they're competing in such a busy space and they've released such a good product, I think it's really good. More competition, the better, if you ask me.
100%. Yeah, especially so Activision don't fuck up another IP. But
yeah, exactly. Credit to them. Anyway, sorry, I went on about that for a bit. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, cool. Hey. Yeah, Kev, have a go if you. Pardon me, sorry. I came out of nowhere. Have a go with Dan. It'll be interesting to see what it's like co-op as well. See what the scaling's like and stuff like that. So cool.
For sure.
That's everything, yeah?
Yep.
Sweet. Let's move on to Le Feedback section with Mr. Kevin Hart.
I'm going to start with it. It's not a feedback per se. It was just a little funny comment that I saw.
Go on.
It was on Reddit, okay? Yeah. It is gaming related. So someone did an ask Reddit that said, what technology are you shocked has not advanced yet? And someone said the school system. And they replied by saying, that's not a feature. That's a feature, not a bug. And someone's reply to that was, so the government have been pulling inspiration from Bethesda. I found it quite funny.
It's not feedback, definitely, but yeah, it's still good.
No. So, big boy Benny, he's been on his Instagram.
Sounds like a cereal.
Instagram.
It's from his Instagram hype.
Oh yeah.
I think so far he's putting up one a day.
Yeah, roughly. It's sort of
little-
like on working days because I sort of in a schedule, if that makes sense. And then the second it gets to the weekend, it just sort of falls apart. I'm not that good at the weekend.
So you got a bit of time. Put some things together. Asked you guys some questions. One of them that he put up. He put it up. It was the Holy Trinity of 2020. Three games that we're all very, very excited about. Unto the End, Hollow Knight, Silksong, and Liberated.
Yeah, man, they look so good. They're definitely the three sort of maybe on the indie side of things. Definitely the three I'm most excited for anyway. But
and then he asked, "What are you excited for? What games you guys are excited for?" Charlotte agreed. Oh no, not agree. Charlotte said, "Sorry, said that she's excited for Ori and the Will of the Wisp."
Yes,
and she believes that the soundtrack is going to be dope.
It is indeed, especially if Gareth Coker, I think his name is doing it again. It's just, man, the soundtrack of the first game was.
Did he sing during it?
No. but he created it. I'm sorry, I don't know. Charlotte, hell yes.
Yeah. And another person commented. His name was. Should I say his name?
Yeah, it says username.
Might as well. Username was Alan Jinx Cage. He said, Doom Eternal.
Yes,
which
boy. I mean,
yeah,
that's a guarantee at this point, isn't it? Like
yeah.
Doom Eternal is gonna be one of the best games this year. There's no denying that. I don't think there's any way it can flop, to be honest.
Yeah, like it's a Doom game. It's gonna And the Blue Canary, having read this myself, I was very surprised, and I completely forgot I even played this game, and I played it a flipping hell of a lot. I completed it so many times. Terraria, I'm guessing the next iteration of it being Journey's End Baby.
Yeah, I had no idea this was coming either. I thought the game had just kind of... I knew it was still popular, but I didn't realise they were still making updates for it.
Yeah. They're putting, essentially... People get to a point in the game where they complete it, and then they just put the next hard thing into the game, and then they complete that, and they put the next hard thing into the game. Mm-hmm. And the amount of bosses in that game is endless. It is absolutely brilliant, that game.
Ben, you said you haven't played it at all, did you?
Never played
very
Terraria,
surprised.
no.
I'm really surprised.
There's a main reason why. It's because I want to play it couch co-op.
Yeah.
I really want to. No, you can't. You can only play it online. Because I wanted to play it with Charlotte, and then I saw it was only online, and I was like, oh man, come on.
Charlotte's got to get herself a little PC, man.
I mean, to be fair, you can probably get it on Mac, can't you?
Probably. I don't think it's that hard to run. It's very...
I mean, this is Macs we're talking about. They'll find some sort of way to ruin it. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And the final piece we have, from the background of what I know, Ben has been talking to a YouTuber called Black Swan, spelt with a Q instead of a C.
Yeah.
Great channel, by the way. New channel, but really nice content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was loving his vids, man. Like his Stoneshard one was good because it was nice to see the actual game because Dan was talking about it last week, but I was seeing it and he described it really well. So good job.
So yeah, Ben talking to him, and I'm guessing he asked essentially just a rundown of what he thought of the. Well, I think he asked for a rundown of the game and then gave him a literal description of what the game was.
Yeah.
So we've pulled some main parts of the game that his more opinionated parts of the game.
Yeah, because we described the game last week. Well, Dan described the game last week, so we've sort of picked out, like you said, picked out the opinionated bit.
So he said he's been playing it since the demo was first released. So day one of the demo.
Yeah. OG.
Since then, it has been reworked a lot. Which is good. It's promising.
Yeah, similar to.
I played the beta again. It's kind of like my Wolcen experience. I played the beta the day before the full release by accident, and the difference even in the first sequence in terms of what happens and they've changed a lot. Yeah, like a lot.
Did you play the demo for Stoneshard?
I didn't play the demo. I played it before it was updated to full release.
For Stoneshard? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
I didn't realise that was a demo, otherwise I probably wouldn't have forked out 10 quid for it. Yeah, but at the same time I'm glad I did because it's a great game. But yeah, carry on.
And he goes on to more the gameplay aspects of it. So he says there's lots of different types of combat. 4 in particular, I believe. Ranged, melee, magic, and environmental. And they all have their pros and cons. So it sounds like it's pretty balanced. Pretty balanced. Not one in particular class is gonna be better than another.
Totally disagree.
Ooh. Oh, really?
Yeah, like I rolled 2 characters. I rolled 3 in total, 1 in the beta, then I rolled 2 in the main release. And the first character I rolled was the spellcaster, so just pure magic. And I said before, there's tons of skill trees, so you get given like 2 skill points at the start, and you can choose from like 4 or 5 that are open to you. And I just couldn't get past the first dungeon, which sounds like stupid, but obviously it's randomly generated, so it's a bit different each time. But I found it so much harder as a spellcaster. And eventually I got so annoyed at it that I gave up and just switched to a melee character, and I was flying through stuff. So, I don't know.
Maybe
I've had a
possibly
very different
missing
experience.
a trick.
Yeah, but maybe the thingy's
yeah.
different as well. The scaling's different. Like, maybe a melee character is quite easy to start off with.
I think that's the case.
But whereas spellcasters, because that's quite similar in a lot of RPG style games, isn't it? Like, especially MMO games. Like, if you want to play a spellcaster, you're going to have a very boring 20 hours before it starts getting good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, in my first character, I started with a melee, but unlocked a couple of fire abilities a bit later on, just like some pyro what's the word? Pyromancy abilities a bit later on, and that really helped me, and that was really nice to use. But pure magic, I found really hard.
That's fair. That's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah.
So he says the combat is unforgiving.
Yes.
Yes. Confirmed.
And one bit that I found quite interesting myself is that injuries and damage can affect the game quite a lot. That the damage is unique.
So like you said, like you can hurt. Like if you hurt your foot, then you move slower, for example, stuff like that. Which is just really cool. I mean, again, I think Dan mentioned it last week, but like, I just find it really interesting that it affects gameplay, if that makes sense. Because there's a lot of games that do the compartmentalized damage stuff, and like where it'd be like, oh, you hurt your arm, well, you need a bandage for your arm, and then you need a splint for your leg, and you know what I mean, like different items for different healing things, and it's more resource management, but affecting gameplay sounds really cool.
Yeah, so if you're carrying a sword in your right arm and a shield in your left, and your right arm gets completely busted, so like it basically becomes unusable. So you'll be swinging with your sword, but because your arm's so busted up, you're not doing any damage. So you might find at that point that it's tactical to swap over and put the sword in your other hand.
Sounds so cool, man.
Yeah, that is.
And like the resource management side of that as well is like if you have a healing item that you can use on either, for example, if you're moving slow, so you've got a broken leg and a broken arm, you need to make the decision as to whether you want more movement speed by healing your leg or swapping your sword over, but then having less defense, and it sounds so cool, man.
Yeah,
this game sounds awesome. I can't wait.
It's really good. Does he talk about the pain system at all? I don't want to butt in just yet if he hasn't.
Yes, he does. He says,
okay, I'll let him do his bit.
A severely injured hand will make it almost impossible to hit in melee, as well as cause a pain debuff, which has its own sorts of issues and negative modifiers.
Oh man, it gets so interesting with like the pain system as well, because there are all sorts of. Again, he does cover this in a minute, so I don't want to step in too early, but you can take painkillers, which have a whole plethora of other side effects that can really mess you up. So you really have to be careful about how you're managing all the different symptoms that you're going through, and it's one of the most deep survival combat systems that I've seen, to be honest.
That's mad, isn't it? Like the amount of effort they've put into this is incredible.
Yeah. So it's made in Game Maker as well, which is a really kind of entry level-ish engine.
Yeah, I suppose technically it's not like super duper advanced, is it? So it's probably the right platform to use for it to make life a bit more streamlined.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Go on, Kev.
Go on, Kev.
He goes on to say the psychological system can essentially make you die from trauma. So I guess you have to manage not only your physical attributes but also your mental attributes, which is
It's mad. Man.
It adds another extra level to the game.
So you can literally get confused where your character will start doing some weird stuff
like Pokemon.
Choose a tile for him to go to, and he'll like just move a tile to the right, which can really mess you up in combat. But you might have put yourself in that situation by drinking too much whiskey because it's helped with the pain of your broken leg, but you needed to do that because you couldn't get around quick enough, and whilst you're doing that, you've got like an arm that's bleeding.
So it seems so hard.
It's really difficult, but it's so interesting.
And he just finally says that if you want a challenging but rewarding looter RPG with good pixel art, then look no further. The beta offers a lot in terms of what the game is going to be while still being fleshed out. So if you're on the fence, just from what I can gather, you can just buy the beta with only one prologue, or you can.
Oh no! So the you can, if you're on the fence, you can get the demo. So the demo is a separate thing entirely, and it just has like one prologue, sort of like one. Like Dan mentioned last week, is like levels are like stages, aren't they? Like one map, and then you move to the next map, and then the next map. I think you play like one map's worth or something in the demo, but I guess it's a good idea to play that just to see whether you have the stomach for it. Because it's like, sounds intense.
And it's worth doing now because I think the full price of the game is going to be £20 odd, and at the moment it's only £10. So if it sounds like it's up your street, it's worth giving a shot now whilst it's still this cheap, because for a tenner there's so much content.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I said, the thingy. What was I saying?
Yes.
That Dan mentioned it last week, I know I said that not you didn't need to write like the full whack of what the game is, but again, reading that, after hearing Dan's thing last week, hearing that, and then hearing Dan's points today, I'm 100% picking this up, man.
Yeah, it does sound
it sounds so good. Like,
I think you really enjoy it. Both of you, in fact. I think you both like this.
Yeah. I love that style of gameplay as well. I love tile gameplay. I don't know why. It's so satisfying and so perfect. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know that there's tiles and nothing. You haven't got to worry about bloody invisible boxes like Journey and Savage Planet and stuff like that. It's just tile system, solid, works.
I will say that I do have a slight issue with the gameplay, and it's only become apparent the more I've played it and the more I've had to restart due to deaths and things. And in fact, I think he does mention this in his email, saying this, but it can get a bit tedious dying and restarting back where you last slept.
Because of the inn saving system.
Which at the start of the game is at the inn. I think later on you can get camps and stuff like that. I haven't got that far myself yet. But because of the way you traverse long distances, it can get really tedious. So everything's tiled. The main overworld is also made up of bigger tiles, and you kind of transition between those. So you move down one major tile, which is made up of lots of little tiles, and you have to keep clicking at the bottom of the screen, and you can't zoom out that far, so you have to click at the bottom of the screen, and it goes hop, 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 like a chess piece.
Yeah.
Down to the bottom of the screen, and the camera moves down with him, and then you have to do it again, then it goes hop, 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 hop. And when you have to transition across like 4 or 5 major tiles, it just gets a bit long sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine,
but stuff happens on the way, and there's stuff to pick up, and random events happen, so it's not all bad, it just gets a bit tedious. That's my only complaint.
It seems like the sort of perfect game to sort of stick on whilst doing other stuff as well, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't feel like because it's like like turn based almost. It doesn't need you don't need full investment in it, if that makes sense. So I can imagine sort of having on one screen and watching a TV series on another screen, sort of thing. It just sounds like my next Slay the Spire, if that makes sense.
I've found that actually. That's a good point.
Cool. Well, thank you, Mr. Black Swan, for the.
Yes, thank you. How do you? It's a weird spelling, isn't it? Tell me how you spell that.
So it's basically Black Swan, but instead of a C, it's a Q. So BLAQKSWAN.
Yeah.
Is there a space or anything?
Nope.
Cool.
I don't believe so.
I'm just double checking.
Cool.
There is a space on YouTube.
Oh,
yeah. On YouTube, there's a space, and follow him on Insta. Subscribe to him on YouTube. Honestly, he does really good, sort of like talk over stuff. And it's his first channel, and like he's really confident speaking on it, considering. It's good. Isn't it? Yeah. Awesome. That's it. We're done. We're done. Awesome.
Woo-woo.
Thank you for the feedback, everyone.
Yeah, it's been good.
Thank you. And if people want to leave feedback for next week's show, or just ask any questions generally, or whatever, how do they do it, Kev?
I highly suggest you go and check out our Instagram, because honestly, Ben is making movements over there.
I'm making movements, man.
It's actually so good, the stuff he's putting out.
Thank you.
Even if I wasn't doing this podcast, I'd probably be following his. Or following us, should I say? Sorry. So yeah, if you want to go check it out, it's Praise a Pickle podcast. But if you want to check out from next week, I hope to be taking over the Twitter. I'm making that executive decision, and I'm gonna try and be a lot more active on that.
Yep. Twitter and Facebook, we're going to be more active on.
Twitter and Facebook, which is just Praise the Pickle. Or if you want to email into us, like our Happy Pickler used to do, who's just apparently gone forever. It's praisethepicklepodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you very much. And once again, please rate, review, subscribe on all your podcast platforms. We love you, and we are going to leave you now. Until next week. Toodaloo.
Pickle.
Goodbye.